I love listening to the podcast because I always hear these famous words. The show always starts off by saying, "The light is green. We're live on YouTube. Let's start the show." And then sometimes you hear me say, "And then let's try this again." All right, so the light is green. We're live on YouTube. Cue intro.
Hi, this is Dale Lear, designer of TRS-80 Color Baseball, and you're listening to CoCoTALK.
This is CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color computer. With your host, Mr. Can't Get Past Level 1 in any game, Stevie Stroh. All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back for another live episode of CoCoTALK. We are on the air with episode 88 of the show that just won't stop. Despite numerous requests and cease and desist orders, we are still here and live and on the air. We've got a very special guest today, and Davey Mitchell just joined us in the live stream. So did Ben Drake. So we've got two of our friends from across the pond. Hello, governors. Good to see you guys. So in the live panel, we've got with us the guy who makes magic happen, the celebrity wrangler, Mr. Ron Delvaux, who continues to bring in A-list talent to this show. Thanks for coming back, Ron.
Yep.
Always a pleasure.
Thank
we
you.
have got Mark D. Overholzer with us in the house, our resident Apple guy, but he's a CoCo guy too. And we've got lots of love for everybody. We've got from Canada, L. Curtis Boyle's with us. Hello, Canada. Hello, Curtis.
Hello, everyone.
Brian Weasler's with us. Hello, Brian.
Hello.
Mark Bosley's back with us again. Hello, Mark.
Hello.
Creator of the Switcheroo and the Wallaby, Jason the Coco Man Reichert is with us. Hello, Jason.
Hello, everybody.
We have the creator of the optimizer of MC10s and other fine things, Mr. James Diffendaffer's on the program.
I was told there'd be beer. Where's the beer?
Bring your own. Bring your own.
BYOB, yes. The Thunder from Down Under from Australia, Mr. Nicholas Marentes is here. G'day, Nick.
Good day, everyone.
From Boyson Technologies, creator of the Boomerang E2 memory board, Richard Lorbieski is with us.
Yes, let's get this dumpster fire started.
Yes, we have. John Lowry has just joined us. Hello, John. And then last but certainly not least, from Canada, two Canadians for the price of one. Mr. D. Bruce Moore returns to the program. Hello, Bruce.
Howdy, howdy.
All right, so let's just cut right to the best part of the show right now. Let's dispense with the pleasantries and get to our guest of honor. Mr. Dale Puckett is with us on the program. Hello, Dale. How are you?
Good afternoon. Good to see you guys. I recognize all of the names I see on the screen for the most part from old Rainbow days, but I had to warn Ron earlier. I remember very few names from the history, so won't be as fluent with it as Frank, but if I'm prompted right, I can probably bring up a few things.
I think you're giving Ron Delvaux a run for his money with all the technology in the background there. We always tease him about being in mission control because he's wrapped around with screens, but you've got a nice little collection of communications technology back there too.
Oh yeah, this is my retirement ham shack. We got most of the equipment back around 2011 or 2012. Didn't wind up retiring till the end of 1975. I worked until I was 75 at Brainworks Software in Wichita. We did newspaper software, and I was doing news feeds of the classified ads to papers all over the country, and it was a lot of fun. So we just stuck with it and worked out pretty well. But my ham call is K0HYD Hotel Yankee Delta, and you can't see the amplifier; it's behind me. And so is the transceiver and stuff. But It's basically all my logging's done on the 21-inch Mac there. And yeah, we've got quite a collection. I've got a StepIR DB18 beam that is really a fantastic antenna. It's up about 45 feet. But wish the sunspots would come back. I tell you what, the conditions on the HF bands have been really terrible lately. So we've been fooling around with DMR and D-Star, playing around with the hotspot and doing stuff like that. And that's kind of neat because you can talk around the world and sounds like you're right in the same room. So yeah, amateur radio is a lot of fun, and it all started because of the computer activity. Actually, it was a ham first in 1956.
Wow.
That led to building a television, and then that led to computing and building a computer, and, you know, went on from there. So that's the story about the equipment.
Neat.
I should just mention, too, that Dale's one of the co-hosts on TwiT TV's Ham Nation podcast, which is for hams, and it's got other people like Bob Hyles, quite famous in the music industry and designer of mics, including the one that Dale's using, and a bunch of others. So it's a really good show if you're into the ham stuff.
Excellent.
It really is a good show, and Bob does a great job of putting it together every week. We are on about every 3 weeks if we get the input. My job basically is to present viewers' videos. The viewers send in their videos, and we try to pick 2 or 3 for every video segment and let everyone see it. And a lot of people out there enjoy it. So it's a lot of fun as long as we get input. Now, we haven't, it's a slow time of year for input, so we'll see what happens. But if we get some input and get some videos and some shack photos in, we'll probably be on in early January one more time. We were just on last Wednesday with a good video about the winter field day, and that is where these crazy hams go out in the cold and tromp through 3 miles of snow and then operate from some tent somewhere in the middle of nowhere. So I think you'd have to be really dedicated to do that, but it's a lot of fun. Makes a good video too.
Well, now CoCoTALK can be on as a video of what you've been doing here.
Yeah, that'd be good. Well, you guys are invited to send some videos in too. Especially, there's a couple of hams I heard introduced here. So, you know, send a video in. We'll, you know, with your CoCo running your ham station, and we'll make sure you get it on the air.
Neat. We're also being reminded today happens to be your birthday, Mr. Puckett. Is that true?
That is true.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah,
Thanks for spending it with us.
Thank you very much.
I think probably Curtis is going to be a good one to ask you some of the more OS9 centric questions. And what I would just ask the people on the panel, I'm going to leave the camera on voice activated, so when people speak, it'll switch to who's speaking. So I would just ask the people who aren't speaking to please mute your end, especially when when Dale goes to respond, we can have the focus go back to him. But I know Curtis is probably going to hold up some of the books and things like that. So Curtis, I'll let you drive the questions because I am not qualified nor worthy. And but I'm looking forward to learning as all this stuff goes on. So I'm going to go ahead and mute my mic now.
Okay. Well, one, I just wanted to get into your earlier life and your career and stuff, because I know you were in the Coast Guard for quite a while. Is that correct?
Yes. I can give you a quick overview resume, I guess.
Yeah, and then also kind of mention how you got into computers and stuff and hams, I guess, too, as well.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Well, I was in high school. I think I was a sophomore when I got my first license. It was a novice license here, KN0HYD. And then a year later, I got my, what they called then a conditional license. It was a general, but you didn't have to drive 250 miles to Kansas City to take a test. You could take it from another amateur here in the local area. And then it was eventually grandfathered to a general. So I was a general until 2011. And in 2011, I decided I wanted to get serious again and get back to studying, and did some exam practice and things like that, and got my amateur extra class in 2011. So we are an amateur extra. We kept the call sign. We've had the same call sign for 60 some years now, 62 or something like that. So it's kind of neat. A lot of people change their call sign when they get an extra to get a 1x2 or a 2x1, which is kind of neat. But I like to stay with the tradition, and we kept the original call sign. So that's where it all started, actually, piddling around with radios. I remember back right after I first got my license, copying, what was the name of that satellite? Not Oscar. Those are the ham satellites, but the Russian satellite. All it did was say HI. You know,
was that Sputnik or something later than Sputnik?
I think that was Sputnik.
Sputnik, yeah, I think it was too. And boy, it came in loud and clear, and so that was pretty exciting for a 15-year-old kid back then in the 50s. So, and my first radios were like I had a super regen that I built receiver. I had 3 tubes in it, and that was kind of interesting. And I worked Hawaii with that regen receiver. So amateur radio is the start of it all, and it sort of progressed along. And let's see, in the 70s, sometime in the early 70s, built a television from Heathkit. So that was a lot of fun. I always liked to tinker with parts and do things like that. And then in the mid 70s, Frank talked about this when the Southwest Technical Products 50 computer came out. And just to show you what we're dealing with today and then, I spent the money and got 12K of memory. And so I thought I never needed any more memory again. And now I've got 48 gigs in my main Mac that I do video and artwork on, or photography work on. So that's pretty amazing, 12K. But that was a lot of fun. And back then there wasn't a tape drive. If you could have a paper punch if you had one, but I typed in those sample programs in hex code. So that's how I started with hex code input, and I'd leave the computer on for a week or two because it took forever to type in all that hex code on the computer. And so this went on, and we eventually got a tape drive. I was like, I think the 300 baud tape drives that you're all familiar with from back then, and that was a gift to be able to save things like that. And then it evolved into I got really involved. I met Frank, and we got interested in some things, and I started working with assembly language, and that worked out real well. I could really relate to programming in assembly language because I could understand at a low level what was going on in the machine and how to make things work. In fact, one of the triumphs was this friend of mine on Governor's Island in New York went uptown to the radio district, and he came back with this contraption. And it was a attachment that you put on the bottom of an IBM PC computer. And he says, I'll tell you what, I'll give you this if you'll write a program to drive the IBM. So he reverse engineered the logic on the board, and I took his notes from the logic and wrote a program, and I'll be darned if it didn't work. So I used that at work for many years before printers were available a lot to do some of my writing and things like that. So that was a lot of fun. So that's how we got started in programming, and we wrote a couple of programs there for the color computer with Frank. They were assembly language versions of basic language programs that had been out there before, like the ELIZA program was the famous one where it acted like a psychiatrist. We did one called Esther, which is my wife's name, and everybody liked that for the most part. And we did a couple of more, and that's how that all got started. And then eventually we got a color computer, and eventually in the meantime, I should pick up the parallel course. I joined the Coast Guard in 1966. I was in 4 years and decided to get out because I was working while I was in the training center there as a public information specialist. I was working at the local TV station 2 or 3 nights a week, and they let me work on the radio or TV station. In fact, they wanted me to work on the TV station because they needed a first-class operator. And if I'd do that, they'd let me play radio every once in a while, so I'd get to go do radio broadcast a couple times a week, and then also go do some broadcasts down on the boardwalk, which was a lot of fun there in Wildwood by the sea. The training center for the Coast Guard was in Cape May, New Jersey. So I got out after 4 years, pretty independent guy. I had a journalism degree and everything when I went in. I didn't really want to go to OCS and be an officer or anything. I just wanted to work in my craft. And so I did stick with that. And what happened there was we got out and worked radio there in South Jersey for about 1.5 years or so. And it was a lot of fun. And then I got a call from the manager of the radio station that was the sister station of the TV station that I'd helped build and then did the news on later out in Garden City, Kansas. It was KUPK, Cup K television. And everything was going fine, but you know, I told him I had to have a company car. I wound up with an old beat up Volkswagen Bug van. And so I knew it was going downhill from there, but I was there for about 1.5 years or something like that. And I was making fair money because I was the morning man, the engineer, and program director, and anything else they could have me do to justify the title. I think they called it operations manager or something. But I was interviewing a young gentleman, actually barely about a high school kid. Came in for an interview at the station. He wanted to work. He wanted to pay me to work on the station. So at that point, I made a career decision and went back in the service and finished out after 22 years total in the Coast Guard, and went up first in my first tour. Went up to first class, went back in as first class petty officer, and then up to chief, warrant officer, a couple of warrant grades, and then about 3 or 4 years before I retired, I advanced to lieutenant. So I did jobs like the assistant public affairs officer for the Atlantic area in New York City, and we lived on Governor's Island a couple of times, which was a fantastic experience to live on this little community that was like 3,000 or 4,000 people. It was like living in the middle of Iowa or Kansas or something, and then you take the ferry boat ride across the East River. It took about 1.5 minutes, and you were in the heart of it, right on just off Wall Street, and then catch a subway, you'd be right uptown. And yeah, we loved it there. And so that was the side, that was the real career. But I've always had this drive to work with computers and broadcasting type things, and that led to the color computer. I was lucky enough to be selected to go to the Navy, the U.S. Navy photojournalism program at Syracuse in 1978, and that's where we met Frank. And that started everything, basically, because after that I started doing some writing for the Color Computer News and did a whole bunch of writing for the Rainbow, and then we went to a meeting in Texas one time. It was not a ham fest, it was a computer convention, and met Ken Kaplan. I talked him into letting me do a book. That was the start of the book thing, and it was the OS9. Hey, you got one there? Okay, yep. Touring tour guides. And
was that a Rainbow Fest you went to?
It was what now?
A Rainbow Fest?
No, it was just a computer convention at that time. Oh. That was before the the Rainbow Fest. Then after this came out, Lonnie invited me to come to a Rainbow Fest in Chicago. I don't remember what year that was. It was real close to the airport there at O'Hare.
O'Hare. Yeah, it's at Woodfield.
Yeah, and that was great. And a little side story, it was really weird. Lonnie had a sign out in the lobby, have author Dale Puckett sign your Basic 09 tour guide. And I'd never pictured myself as an author before. I just figured I was putting together a technical manual of some kind. And what was really strange is my fourth grade English teacher was happened to be in the hotel at the same time. And so when I got home, she related the story to me. So I thought that was quite funny. So anyway, that was the first Rainbow
Fest. Was she attending the fest?
What was that?
Was she attending the fest, or she just happened to be at the same hotel?
No, they just happened to be in the hotel. And no, they weren't computer type people. But that was, I mean, that's one of the first small world stories. You run into something like that. And that was the first of then many Rainbow Fests. I think we did most of them until 1990 maybe, or 89 maybe was the last one. And it was a lot of fun. We enjoyed it. There was always a big crowd for the OS9 seminars. And kind of interesting, another relative story, you go back then, I always tried to use visuals with the presentations, and it was quite a production to take these plastic overlay sheets and Xerox them to make some kind of graphic that you could put on. And when I compare that to what I can do today on the computers, man, with programs like PowerPoint, and I used Keynote, but man, you can do beautiful work today. The same type thing goes on. I pioneered a lot of stuff from the audio visual side of things in the Coast Guard, doing multimedia projects, we called them then, but they were actually 2 slide projectors driven by a little box, and you could do things like fades and takes, and that was about it. But man, and you had to get your photos perfect in the camera, and, because you sent them off and they either came back and they were good or they were bad. So today, I can go into Lightroom and I can turn a bad photo into a good photo. So man, if I'd have had the tools that I have today back then, I could have probably had a good career. Well, I did have a good career, but it's just amazing the progress of what we've done in technology from back then. That was in the 80s until today. It just gets better all the time. So it's a lot of fun. We do a lot of photo editing and things like that, and that's a great pastime. So where were we, Curtis?
Well, you mentioned how you met Frank and kind of got into the CoCo and the OS9 side. So I was going to ask you, how did you and Lonnie meet? Like, how did the arrangement with writing your regular column for Rainbow, which lasted for years and years, how did that come about?
Well, I think that basically came, I started off writing for, that was the name of it, Color Computer News? Was that the one out of Tennessee?
Yeah, that was it Bill Sias or somebody did that, if I remember?
That sounds right. Yeah, I wrote there first, and then
and Frank had his column, the 64K corner in that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I think Frank met Lonnie, and I think Frank referred me to Lonnie and suggested that I do an OS9 column, because he provided an output for him for his news, in the Rainbow. So it was good for him for me to do a column there, and he sort of introduced me to Lonnie, and I took it from there. Lonnie liked how to do articles, which is good. I did a few of those. My favorite one probably was how to do the drawing programs with Basic 09. That was kind of fun. That was with the Color Computer 2 and OS 9 level 2. but my column basically sort of covered the OS9 news front, who's who in OS9 and what are they doing these days. And people seem to really love it. And so that was maybe not completely lined up with what Lonnie liked all the time, but a lot of the people liked it. So we just sort of stuck with it and did that. And,
yeah, because you had sample programs, and then you also had like sneak peek previews of third-party software coming out. You just kind of do previews of them and stuff too. And of course, OS9 Level 2 here would be this book here, which of course brings me to my next question on OS9 Level 2, because this was Volume 1, A Beginner's Guide to Windows. Whatever happened to Volume 2?
I guess we never did one. Yeah. One of my favorite books was this one. Hold that up there. It was that's the original book, OS9 Level 1, but Lonnie somehow worked a deal and sold that book in Japan, and I always got a kick out of the book in Japanese. About all I could ever read in it was my name, so and, that was very interesting. But we did the OS9 Level 1 book. It had a lot of the information in it from the Basic 09 guide, and we tried to, we teamed up with Peter Dibble. I think I've never met Peter in person, but we talked a lot on the phone, and he was a programmer's programmer. He was it, and eventually worked there for Ken at Microware in Des Moines, and we sort of teamed up, and I did the part of the book that was geared for the beginners, for someone that was brand new to computers and didn't really understand programming, and tried to lay it out so that they could understand OS9 and what it was doing and things like that. And then Peter took over about halfway through the book usually, and he did some really heavy duty programming and got them in the book. So with the two of us together, it made a great package. And we did sell a lot of books. I basically was able to put my daughter through college with the Rainbow books. So it was a good meeting to have Frank introduce me to Lonnie there.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, I think originally Rainbow sold the books on their own, but didn't they get a deal to sell them through Radio Shack later on too, if I remember?
They did, yes. Yes, I remember walking into a Radio Shack here in Wichita when I was home on vacation or leave one time and seeing them. So that was pretty neat.
And then I know, like when Kevin Darling got the job to do the Level 2 upgrade, you were one of the testers, because there'd been mentions both in him after the fact saying that you loved like his Super Windows package with movable resizable windows and stuff. And I think you were part of the CompuServe hidden forum that they had for the developers too for testing, if I remember correctly. So how did you get involved with that project?
I don't remember the CompuServe. Well, I remember being on CompuServe, so it's quite possible that I was in that group. And don't remember the testing either. So it leaves me cold right there.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember when Kevin did a little summary, like he kind of explained the history of the upgrade, which it started in '88, and and then the CoCo got canceled before they were done. So he had mentioned that on one specific point was he said Super Windows was written, you have movable, resizable, overlappable windows and stuff. He said Dale Puckett loved them, but they were a little bit too slow, so they ended up pulling them out a little bit. So
I'm sure I did. I thought it was fantastic. OS9 Level 2 was so much better when it came out that it was amazing what you could do with that little color computer. And I had several. I think I had the color computer too. I think I had a couple of those, and eventually gave them away, one to a niece who then later became a writer and used it. And that's how she got introduced to computers. So that was nice.
And then a question on the various books that you did for OS9. Did you write any of those in OS9, or did you write them on PCs, or what did you use to actually write them on?
I think actually I was a Macintosh developer, I think, and was able to get I didn't get the original Macintosh. I got the 512, which was the one that came out the second year. So I did everything on those and sent those little 3-inch floppies to Jim Reed and his staff there at Rainbow, and they did the editing there. But I just used a simple text editor. Everything was simple text. There was none of this fancy work that you can do today with the GUI editors. It was just plain text. And in fact, a lot of my columns, I would send them in with a modem, and that was back when modems were really slow. And so it would take, I don't know how long to send in a column that was only, maybe 1,500 words, and it would take 5 minutes or so on the phone and sending it with the slow modem speeds back then. But yep, that's how we did it. With a lot of the columns went in by modem. I think the books went in by mail. I think I sent the floppies in at that time.
And then a question, there was a mention at Rainbow near the end, like the last year or two, that you were going to be doing a special kind of wrap-up book for the CoCo, kind of a history of somewhat, and then also a bunch of the people that were, influential and inspiration within the CoCo community, but the book never got published. I don't know if it was just an idea that never started, or if it got started and then, Rainbow was shutting down, so that just never got published, or what was the story behind that?
I think it was a case of, with those of us who tried to do it, we never could get exactly what Lonnie wanted, was what it boiled down to. I was invited to do it when they had the last Rainbow Fest. I think it was the last Rainbow Fest there in New Jersey. And that was, I think, 1990. Could have been 89. But I think, well, it must have been 89, because I retired February 1st of 1990. And he invited me to do it, so I thought I'd try it. But, I forget who tried it first, and then Jim Reed was going to write that. And that guy's a terrific writer, and he's, just amazing with the stories he came through. And for some reason, that didn't work out. And then I tried it, and I was back to my people thing, and my whole connection with the color computer was in OS9. So I did my first chapter or two and sent it in. And it was all about, it started in a meeting at a Rainbow Fest of OS9 people, and, was bringing all the names and that kind of stuff. And that wasn't what Lonnie really wanted. And I just basically gave up on it and didn't do it, was what it boiled down to. So my bad, but you have to look at the situation back then. Today we can get on and talk to you guys and look at your faces and see everything. Back in 1990, you had to make a long distance call, and you got charged by the minute. Yep. So you can imagine the cost of trying to interview all these different people, and Lonnie would have reimbursed, but it was just, not sustainable at that time. So that's what happened.
Did you actually get any interviews done, or did you just start writing the preamble and that's what you sent into Lonnie, that he kind of said, that's not what I wanted?
I did a preamble, and I did a first chapter after talking to some of the OS9 people, communicating with them, I guess, with email and stuff like that. Of course, I remembered stuff, and I had stuff in my notes from the columns and all that kind of thing. So I didn't make a lot of calls. No, not to that point.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, do you still have that first chapter kicking around somewhere? I think that would be something some of us would just love to read, just to see where it was headed in your mind and your vision of it.
Well, I'll tell you what, I would have to do some digging. I just may have a copy down in a box somewhere in the basement. I'd have to look. Back then it was on floppy, and now you can't read a floppy with anything. So I probably could find it, but I'd have to do a lot of research and digging through some boxes.
Okay. Well, if you ever do find it, I would love to read it. I would like I was pretty piped up, really wanted to see the book when it was first announced in Rainbow, and obviously it never got done, but just to see where it was headed would have been pretty interesting. I would definitely like to see it.
It would have been a really good idea. Yeah, I think I probably was not the right person to do that, because I didn't have the history of the early color computer as much as, as the post OS9 introduction part. And so I didn't know a lot of the people that were involved there in the very early days. And so we were trying to get a step here. Yeah, Ron.
Did you ever read the CoCo, the Colorful History of Tandy's Underdog Computer, that book that came out? Did you ever get to read that?
Do
you even know about it?
No, I've got it held up here if you want to take a look at the cover, see if you recognize it.
Yeah, there it is.
Boise.
I bought that book because Boise's a good friend. And I did read most of that. That was really good.
Yeah, because that's kind of the history. And then before that, Nick Marentes did a series of interviews with some of the, more of the game programmers, but type stuff. But he did one called Coconuts. That was interviews with some of the programmers from the day too. So I guess some people kind of picked up what you were trying to do on their own independently. But
yeah, I remember the Boise's book. Yeah, I bought that one right away when it came out because I had talked to him. By that time, I think we had the internet. You could communicate, with email and stuff. It wasn't like the earlier days. And I remember getting that book right away when it came out and reading it. So yeah, very good.
So you did some programming back in the day too, like obviously with Basic 9 with the Basic 9 Tour Guide, and then some other stuff you mentioned like Esther, the Eliza clone. Do you consider yourself more of a programmer who became a column writer, journalist type thing, or do you prefer to think of yourself as a columnist / whatever first and then programmer second?
Well, I think the columnist type thing would be more of a career type thing. I mean, I'm a Jayhawk journalist, graduate of the William Allen White School of Journalism at KU. And so I've always written and liked to write, whereas the programming was an avocation. I actually liked it more than the writing. The writing was work. The programming was fun. So that's, typical type, I think, for a lot of people. So I was a good, decent programmer because I was able to work pretty well at the low levels, with assembly language and stuff. But then where I got lost, I think, and got away from it for quite a while was when it came into the higher level languages. I couldn't relate as well to the hardware and stuff as I did when I was working at the low level. So I didn't do a lot of programming until like the late, mid, I guess, 1990s. I was working then for Freedom System Integrators, which was a company that Brainworks Software bought in 2001. And we had started doing web feeds for newspapers around the country for our client customers. They'd want to send their classified ads out to a website or something. I started doing these feeds at this time, and the language of choice was Perl. And so I became quite fluent at Perl. I was, it was pretty shaky there in the beginning. It was some pretty primitive stuff back in the 1990s, but this all evolved, and the interest in the web got more intense as we went along. And then, sometime in the early 2000s, maybe very early 2000s, there was really a big demand, and you couldn't write these programs by hand like you can, like we were doing at first. Somebody would need a program to feed XYZ, and we'd actually do that program for XYZ. And it just got too intense then early in the 2000s. And what we did at that point was I decided that the only way to do this was to write a program that would write these programs. So essentially, that's kind of what Perl does, is it's text substitution. And that's one type of programming I could really understand and get into. So I started off with a thing called Class to Web. And the Class to Web was a program, and what that program did was it wrote a program that would do a web feed. And it evolved to the point where when I retired, it was quite complex and would do all kinds of things, and basically automated the process of making these web feeds. And we were doing so many by 2016 when I retired that we needed it too. You wouldn't, if you'd had to write those programs by hand, you would have been out of luck, period. But basically, it used a pseudo language in a template and worked that template against some prototype code and merged the two together and came out with a good program. And it was a lot of fun. So that's probably my biggest achievement in programming, was that class to web and the state it was in when I left Brainworks there in 2016. It was pretty fantastic and pretty neat. So Perl's a good language, and that's where I did most of my programming in the later days there. So.
Okay. One thing I was going to ask you, like at the end of Rainbow's tenure, there was all the the competing parties doing basically what they called a CoCo 4. There was a TC9, TC70 from Frank Hogg. There was the MM1 from IMS and the System 4. Did you get involved with any of those or try them out, or what was your opinions of those at the time?
No, I sure didn't. I was so busy getting organized after I retired and trying to find a job and stuff. Actually, I didn't look for a job for quite a while, for about 6 to 9 months or so. But then I got involved. Let's see, the first, it was a computer sales job, and that took up a lot of time. And that's when it was all going on. It was around 1990, 1991. Yeah. And I really didn't have the time, so I didn't do a lot. The programming we did back in the color computer days, I had a gimmicks computer too, that from the guy in Chicago. That was nice. We used that, but did not do any of the 68,000 programming. It was basically my last assembly language programming and stuff was with the 6809, which was on its way out about the time I retired there from the Coast Guard.
Okay. And then from your years being in level 1 and then level 2 with the windowing system, et cetera, did you have any favorite OS9 programs from all the stuff you saw, either was from Radio Shack or from third party? Did you have any things that really stick out in your mind as those are pretty awesome?
Not really at this point. It's been so long. There were a lot of really good programs out there, though, in OS9, and Frank had most of them. So it worked out real well.
Yeah, like I remember stuff like Sculptor, and I mean, Radio Shack quite a few games in OS9, like Cronus Rift and Rescue and Fractalus, that kind of stuff too. So, is Ron or anybody else got any questions too here? I don't want to hijack the show.
Do you think you weren't much of a gamer, were you? Did you play games much, or were you more, application stuff?
No, I think I was more application. I never did get into the games a whole lot. I heard somebody's introduction say that never could get past level 1. That probably
was me.
That would fit my bill too. I would tinker for a little bit and play. I used to like that original game when I had my first color computer. I got 2 of the cartridges. I don't remember what the second one was, but the main one was the Klingons with the spaceships with the 2 circles on the end. And always thought that was a lot of fun and get a kick out of it every time I see it. Still in the movies. So pretty neat. That was a neat game. But no, even with the state-of-the-art games today are amazing. They blow you away. But I don't, for some reason, my mind doesn't get into the shoot 'em up stuff. I'm more with the application stuff, trying to get something done.
Did you ever draw much on drawing programs or anything? Like, there was CoCo Max and all those programs that did drawing, and there was a couple.
Yeah, I like those. Yes. And that's why I always wanted to figure out how to do the graphic programming. And that's why like I said earlier, one of my favorite project things was that basic '09 draw program when they came out with the capability in OS9 level 2 to do that. I actually understood it and could actually do a few things. And I was amazed to be able to do some rudimentary graphics, with simple programming. So always liked the drawing programs. And what I like now is like the best program, bar none, I think, for editing photos is Adobe's Lightroom. And it's just absolutely amazing what you can do if you've got a background in photography and you know what you're looking for and trying to do, and then you get those tools, and it's like magic anymore.
Wow.
And the way you can do presets, you accomplish something once, you can save it, and then you can apply that later to different photos. And man, that program blows me away every time I use it.
I got another question for you.
Yeah.
Did you back in the day remember WeFax, the WeFax program with the color computer?
I remember the name. Yes.
Yeah, I have. I don't know if I can show it fast on my camera, but here's a opening screen.
Weather facsimile receiver.
Yeah, I think I remember that. Yes.
Yeah, and I actually got it to work and would receive. This is the controlling program, and then this is actually receiving it on the CoCo.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah, you could actually read words and stuff, which I thought was amazing at the time.
Yeah,
but
that's my kind of program.
Did you ever do anything like that yourself?
No, no, I never did.
You never used CoCo for anything on the,
on the ham side of things?
Ham side, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna ask
I really didn't.
I was going to ask that question there because one of my first exposures to ham radio was through a color computer friend of mine, and he did a lot of the packet radio with his CoCo connected to it. I didn't know if you did. I was going to ask that question if you had done any packet radio back in the day.
Yeah, yes, I did back in the it was mid 90s basically. I ran 3 packet nodes here in the Wichita area. I had one 440 megahertz transmitter that talked to a tower up by Emporia, which was about 90 miles away or so, closer to 100 maybe. And it would bring down at a relatively high speed, 9600 baud for packet radio, would bring it back to Wichita, and then I would have it on my bulletin board here, which was fed out on another node on another frequency on 1200 kilobaud. So yeah, we did a lot of that. I did some experimenting with some of the color computer packet programs. I don't remember what computer I was using back then for the packet radio. I did do some experimenting with the color computer, however, and play with it on packet.
Yeah, I kind of remember we were sitting there, and he had to make this is sitting in Iowa, and we had to make 5 hops to get down to Florida where NASA was at on the packet radio. And then all of a sudden, here comes this weather map from NASA on packet radio across his computer, and I just thought that was the most incredible thing.
It's amazing. Yeah, it was interesting. That was the beginning of communications. The packet bulletin boards. Actually, they had the regular telephone bulletin boards too, but with the packet bulletin boards, everything was done on the radio. And like you said, it took a hop about every 30 to 50 miles to get across the state or get across the country. So it was not a very effective communications medium, but you'd let it run overnight and it would do its file transfers overnight. And then the people locally could read it at their leisure on the bulletin board. So that was sort of the beginning of a communications breakthrough. And where we are today, we're looking at it right here. So it was a lot of fun experimenting with that. And I ran that bulletin board for 3 or 4 years, I think, before lack, the internet had come on by then, and the use of packet radio just dropped off to nothing. And now I'm back into SDR radio, playing with software-defined receivers and programming. I haven't written any low-level programming, but I experiment with a lot of programming for SDR and also with DMR radio to talk worldwide, also with D-Star, run a hotspot. So I'm still tinkering with.
You need to say what some of those acronyms are.
What the acronyms?
Yeah,
I guess what is that? Software defined radio. So basically, the hardware is nothing but a little receiver that receives the signals all the way from around 28, 29 megahertz up to 1.5 gigahertz. And so you have an antenna on that, and all of these signals in that whole bandwidth are coming into that detector. And basically then it's demodulated by demodulated and puts out, with an A to D converter type thing. And then after that comes out, the software in your computer acts as the radio and does all the filtering to set the bandwidth and set the frequency and do everything. The people that write that stuff are geniuses. They have to be, it's absolutely amazing. It's fun to play with, and it's inexpensive. I mean, you can pick up a what they call RTL SDR. That's just a brand that this ham down in Australia designed and then had Chinese manufacturers make. And I think it's like $25 or $26. And it's one of the best designs of the SDR, inexpensive SDR radios out there. And so for that $25, basically, you can have a radio that can listen to anything from 28 megahertz to 1.5 gigahertz. And you do things like I've got one that's dedicated to the aircraft tracking, runs on 1.09 gigahertz or 1090 megahertz, and it picks up aircraft tracking signals from I get about a 250 mile plus range here. So I have 400,000 or 500,000 sightings that I feed into FlightAware every day. And so it's kind of fun. You can you call up the screen, you call up a web page, and you can see the aircraft, where they are. And sometimes they have up to 150, 160 aircraft on the screen. It looks very scary. You wouldn't want to get in an airplane if you look at that screen. So that's some of the experimenting you can do today. And of course, I do a lot of the ham radio stuff, and then you can have an actual converter. I've got one called Spyverter that works with the AirSpy, which is the higher cost SDR I have, and it's hooked up to the computer. And then with the Spyverter, it converts the signals below 28 megahertz up into the range, around 150 or megahertz or so, and that they're detected up there, but they're sent up there, converted up by that Spyverter. You can actually tune the ham bands, like on 20 meters, 14 megahertz. You can tune them right down to the kilocycle or kilohertz. It's just a lot of fun to play around with this stuff. It just, it's amazing. And then as far as the acronyms, DMR stands for Digital Mobile Radio. And that's the latest trend in amateur radio communications these days. And the reason is that it's inexpensive. The first digital radios for hams where the worldwide things were going on were D-Star, but they were proprietary to companies like ICOM. And now Kenwood has bought a license for some of their radios too. But they were relatively, they were expensive. It cost you, $400 at the minimum to get a D-Star radio. And you can buy a DMR radio for $80 for a single band. And so DMR is taking over the amateur ranks by storm, especially now that the sunspot cycles, it's the pits, man. You go on high frequency now and it's noise. That's what you hear, is a lot of noise. I mean, you can still work some people. If you're running high power, if you run, if you get up 500 watts, kilowatt, you can make good contacts. But if you're running down with the low power 100 watts, man, you're hard pressed to make a contact sometimes today with the propagation. And then it's in and out too. The QSB, which is the fading in and out of the signals, is fast. You'll be talking to me and you'll be loud and clear and in the room, and 5 seconds later you'll be down in the mud. You can't even hear you.
Yeah. So speaking of QSB, Dale, you're starting to Cylon.
Yeah, your sound is starting to break up on us in a little bit.
Plug it back in again.
I thought he did it on purpose.
for dramatic effect.
Yeah, perfect timing.
Well, here we go. Let's try it. Okay, it changed the mic. Let me check here.
There you go. You're back
there you
on.
go. You're fine now.
Good.
I see. I don't know why it does that. You said it was a Logitech driver?
Yeah, it's something. It's a bug in either the chip or the driver, and it's basically anything that's based on that particular chipset has that same problem, and it doesn't matter what platform you're on either.
Yeah, this is the. I think you can see it in the picture. It's the purple USB device that Heil designed to drive his mics into a USB connection on your computer, and it does that on Skype and right on schedule.
Wow. Yeah, it's funny because you were talking about being on the high band and how things start to turn to static on the high band. And as you were doing that, the background noise that was like on cue just started coming in while you were talking. It's like, man, it's perfect.
Sunspots there, so.
It's very funny. But yeah,
couldn't have been any more timely.
Started in amateur radio was at the high point in a sunspot cycle, and you could talk to Europe, with hardly any power, talk to Hawaii with hardly any power. And radios weren't what they are now back then. and now you're hard pressed with a really good receiver. I've got a low noise receiver set out in the pasture about 800 feet from any power lines or anything. And it's even hard to copy on that stuff. It's just the pits right now. I'm hoping it'll start slipping up pretty fast because I'm tired of the bad conditions.
Back in the heyday, go ahead. Back in the heyday of the with the rainbow and everything, where did you get your inspiration for either like articles or books? Were people approaching you, or was a lot of it original work?
Well, some of the programs I'd try to do would be original, but a lot of the reviews and stuff that people would come to me, with their product, and I'd play around with it for a while and like it, and go ahead and write something up. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. Got to play with a lot of software and a lot of hardware, and really enjoyed it.
Back then, didn't you consider yourself to be on the cutting edge of, the computer?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, it was very, very definitely. And I always, I often wonder what would have happened if I would have just dived into the computer industry, full time at that point, and did a career that way. But I decided to stick with it and retire, and I actually did another career after that because I sold computers for a while and I did quite well at it. But I hated sales. I hated it from when I was in broadcasting when nobody got promoted to manager except the salesman, and. So I really didn't like sales, although I was extremely successful at it, selling the computers. But then I got a chance to go to a company called it's same as Microware in Des Moines, but it was Microtech here in Wichita, and they had the computer industry, or they had the newspaper software industry locked up back in the 80s and early 90s with their proprietary system. I went on as a technical writer, and that sort of led to a lot of writing too. And then eventually what happened, the state retirement fund pulled their money out of Microtech, and Microtech went bankrupt and we all were without a job. But then a company up in Chicago, Monotype, who made these big printers basically for newspapers. Printers is probably not the right name, but the big devices used printing presses. They built and installed those things, and they bought Freedom System Integrators and brought it back from the ashes, as they say. And then I got to go to work for them probably within 6 months after they bought it. And I finished out 22 years there at the end of 2016. So most of it was with, I did a lot of support, a lot of computer support. And that's another interesting story, is the evolution of computer support. Man, it was hell back in the 90s, the late 90s when I first started. We'd be helping somebody and they wouldn't know how to spell computer. And you'd be trying to tell them to do something technical. And it would take 2 hours to get anything done. And now you just connect up, drive their computer, fix it, done, finished, thank you, and go on your way. So that's about it. Love it.
I have a question for you on publishing articles and stuff, because you did work for Color Computer News, CCN, and then you did work for Rainbow. You did some of the book publishing. Did you ever do articles for some of the ham magazines and stuff too, or anything outside of the Color Computer?
I may have written a ham article or two. Not a lot. Really never did have time. I was always full-time employed. And so any writing I did like that was on the side. And basically, now I'm doing, a series on the DMR radio and digital radio in general for the local ham club magazine. But that's, preliminary. It's, it's not a big deal, but it gives me a chance to write every once in a while. So it's kind of enjoyable.
You still get to scratch that itch then.
You're right. It's a lot of fun, and it's a challenge. Writing is all about simplicity. I've always been a fan of Hemingway's writing, and I have an app called the Hemingway app. I think it's available on all platforms, and it basically checks you as you're writing, and if you get too wordy or you use too many,
wow,
or if you go into a passive voice, or if you do this or if you do that, it flags you right away, and so you can correct it. And you can get your reading level down to, 6th, 7th grade, writing on a technical subject by using that program. And I always think that's a lot of fun, just as a challenge to lower the reading level so people can really enjoy it, because I think that's what sold my books back in the days, is I would try to write tight and active and follow all those rules from Hemingway, but now you can't remember them all. So you got the computer reminding you all the time. So it's a lot of fun. Yeah, the technology today is just amazing.
Have you ever had an interest in writing fiction or anything too, or you just?
No, I never did. I guess I don't have any imagination. I think that's what boils down to. I lock into who, what, when, where, why, how. Journalism type thing, and I never did write a fiction book piece.
So another question would be, do you keep a track of, or, the kind of thing you do you notice there's, other than us, I mean, here we are, the CoCo group and everything, but, there's Commodore and Apple and some of the other classic groups or whatever. Do you ever get involved, have any contact with these other people? Or then, not only that, but, what do you think also of our group, that we're kind of back and we're doing kind of pretty good for, a computer that's gone?
Almost 4 years now.
No, I haven't done any of the other user groups or forums or Facebook groups or whatever that are out there. I always had the interest in your group because of the fact that I was involved, with the color computer back then. I think you're doing a great job. I enjoy seeing the posts on the Facebook group all the time. I don't participate a whole lot because I don't do a whole lot, but it's kind of fun and kind of nice to see the old names and remember some of the old equipment, and it's kind of amazing to see some of the technical work that's being done today, and it would almost get me inspired to do some of that stuff. With,
I was going to bring up my next question: is have you played with any of the emulators rather than having to dig a CoCo out of storage or something like that, or just...
No, I haven't. So yeah, now I'll have to check in with you and find out about an emulators, because I've got enough computing power now that I could run one in a heartbeat probably.
Yeah.
So
easily. And there's multiple emulators too, so
I'll have to put a note on the forum and see if I can find out about a couple of those, just play around. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. What Curtis was touching on earlier about how this book that never happened, that would have been kind of the CoCo retrospective. What a shame that didn't happen. It would be really neat to have heard some people's opinions from that kind of time capsule perspective, looking back while it's still kind of fresh in their minds. But I think when you're talking about how technology, how it's it's been so good to us, we do have something like that. Like, we're very fortunate to have you on today, and we are having like these weekly conversations and these monthly podcasts where we are reflecting on things, and so it's good that we're capturing it now. And
I think so. The more you can capture, then it'll be there for people in the future.
Yeah,
that's great.
And it's unfortunately that Lonnie Falk didn't see the benefit or the value of it then, but we definitely see the value of it now. Just kind of maintaining this for posterity's sake, not only nostalgia's sake, but just for we're actually helping contribute to an archive of history too. So
I think you are. Yes,
definitely cool stuff.
I've been saying that for a year now.
Yeah. Were you familiar with the Nitrous 9 project when it happened?
No, it sure wasn't. I'm interested in it though.
Yeah. So Curtis could probably speak to that, and we'll be reviewing the latest version of that now. But yeah, I was just curious if you were even familiar with Nitrous 9, which is just a supercharged version of OS9.
And I'm trying to remember if you were still active at Rainbow when the secret features of the 6309 chip came out. That's what started both Power Boost by Burke and Burke, and then a few months later, Nitrous 9 came out based on the added capabilities of that chip, which apparently had been there all along since 1986 when the chip was released, but nobody really knew it. I was wondering, I can't remember if you were still active enough you would have heard about that chip and its features back at that time.
No, I don't remember that at all.
Okay, because I think Power Boost, if I remember, came out in early '92 or something. I think you were probably already pretty out of the CoCo.
Yeah, I was already in the computer sales bit by then, and pretty well consumed time-wise. So.
Did you ever work at Radio Shack too, at any point?
No, I sure didn't. Sure didn't. Went to a lot of Radio Shacks all over the country.
Did you ever make it up to the home pod at Fort Worth, or? With the journalist?
Even went to Radio Shacks a lot, even until a few years ago when they closed them all here in town. But
how did you feel about that?
How
did you feel about that?
I don't like it because it was a good place to get parts. Now, we do have a privately owned Radio Shack here that is the candy store, is what the hams call it.
Yeah.
He's used ham equipment and new ham equipment, and so yeah, it's a great store, and he stocks a lot of the parts. But it's such a shame to lose that connection with these low-level parts where you could go pick up a few parts and build something.
Yeah,
you can't anymore. No place to go, or at least none that I know of, to do something like that.
Well, we certainly don't want to see you go, but I just want to remind you we've held you captive for an hour now. So if you did have your other obligations today, I wanted to remind you of the time in case you had to go on. But feel free to hang out here as long as you can, and know that you can always come back.
We're good to go. I missed a question though. We got tied up with the Radio Shack. What was that other question revolving around Radio Shack? The Fort Worth.
Yeah. Have you ever been to the headquarters either for Rainbow or for whatever?
Yes, I was going to say that. In the course of working on that book, we were able to get an appointment supposedly with one of the honchos, and we drove all the way to Fort Worth, and then they didn't have time to see us. And that's, you know, it sort of told the story that they weren't interested, you know. And that was another thing that evolved into dropping the book and not even trying to do it, because there was some expense involved to go down there, and time and driving down and the whole bit, and then they don't have time to talk to you, and that was a very sour taste. So that would have been in 1990.
Wow,
phasing things out. So
that's too bad.
What a shame. Another why did Tandy do that moment?
Yeah,
right? So
we have a lot of those.
It didn't make any sense. I mean, I could have had a book with just a good couple of interviews for a couple of days down there. I mean,
yeah,
and they were not interested at all, period. You couldn't even talk to the guy I was supposed to go down and see.
So I take it it's safe to say then that Radio Shack would not have been interested in distributing that book if it had been completed either.
Probably pretty good bet, yes. So.
Now, at the time when you were writing about the 6809, did you realize that it was such a powerful 8-bit processor at the time? Did you know?
Yes, I did. I think I thought it was the best one out there. It may have been because I learned the assembly language programming on the 6800 initially, and then the 6809 brought a whole lot more power, but it was still the same straightforward, simple design. And I always thought it was logical to program, whereas the x86 type architecture I couldn't get into. It didn't compute for me.
Yeah, it's segment
mainly probably because I learned the other, but I thought it was very good architecture, and it just kept getting better back in those days in the mid to late 80s.
Did you do any 68,000 stuff?
No, I didn't. I had dropped out of it by then. I would have probably if I, had stuck with it and been doing some programming then.
Yeah.
You'd mentioned that you had an SWTPC or whatever the heck it was, the SS50.
Right, that was it.
Yeah. So did you get introduced to Flex first and then you went to OS9, or did you get into OS9 right off the bat? Because I know some of those had both operating systems. So
I think I did Flex first. Yeah, Flex was pretty neat. Just straightforward and very easy to program. And then that evolved. Then OS9 came out later, and started working with that. So,
and was OS9 was your first exposure to OS9? Was that on the CoCo, or did you use a gimmicks first or something else first?
I did some on the CoCo, yes. Back there with Flex when I was working with Frank, and then I eventually got the gimmicks computer. And,
okay, so actually your first exposure to OS9 then was on the CoCo? Not on
no, I had OS9 on the Southwest Tech, I think, SW.
Oh, okay.
PTC, and then I wanted to get color computer right away as soon as they did that, and played around with it a lot too at the same time.
Are you familiar with the OS 9000 or any of the newer stuff?
No, I'm sure not. I guess I'm going to have to tune in more to your group there on Facebook.
We had Alan Bediger on. He's part owner of Microware now. Did you know him at all?
No, I sure didn't. I just knew Ken and what was it, Jeannie? I think it was his wife and Peter, and that was and maybe a couple other guys, and that was about it.
If you get a chance, it would be cool to listen to the show we had with him on. He explained on how he worked on a little bit of the CoCo in early days before, as Radio Shack started to put it online or build it. He was involved with that.
Oh, I'd like
pre-production. Yeah,
that'd be really interesting. I'll have to send you a note there on Messenger and see if I can get a link. And
yeah, it was the episode right before Frank, so it's pretty fun.
Oh, okay. That's all on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I was reminded of something else, Dale. I'm also friends with you on Facebook, and not too long ago you had a doppelganger where somebody created a fake Dale Puckett account. Were you aware of that?
They do that every once in a while.
Yeah. Because like we had been friends forever but never communicated. And all of a sudden I get an instant message from you out of the blue one time saying, "Hey, what's going on?" I'm like, "Oh, well, not much. It's 7 a.m, but you know."
That wasn't very long. You know, that's a pain. You know, you take these people through this crap and just, you know, hang them. Public I mean, it creates so much havoc. It's just, you know, ridiculous. So you know, you go in and change your password and report them immediately. They Facebook jumps on it and takes care of it. But it's just you know, it's a thorn in your side, extra work you don't want to have to do. You know,
yeah. We didn't have that problem back in the CoCo days, right? no fake online handles.
Didn't have the communications.
Maybe on the BBSs, if you went on the pirate BBSs, you might have caught some of that. But.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's a possibility there. Yeah.
Actually, I was going to mention, you were mentioning packet radio BBSs, and I remember a few of my friends that were hams up here would do that. And I think one of the big advantages back then, like you were mentioning before, how expensive it was to do long distance dialing for BBSs, and you could charge by the minute type thing, same as long distance phone calls. And I think packet radio actually made it cheaper. You could log into something in a different state or even a different country and, you know, send software back and forth and not have to pay these exorbitant long distance fees. So that was one thing I do remember from the hams back then that was really popular.
It was good. Yes. Yeah. I mean, it was amazing, the packet radio, but when you put it all in context, but, you know, 1200 baud, the fact that it took forever, it wasn't very good for instant communications, but it was good for long-term bulletin board type communications where the large files could be transferred overnight. And the people wake up in the morning and check the bulletin board and get the latest stuff. So, yeah, it was a good part of the evolution. It just, if you look at it now, and 1200 baud is extremely painful. So, even 9600 baud is extremely painful.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Another one of our CoCo community guys, Tom C. in Jersey. He's a ham guy. He's into packet radio. He's doing stuff where and Jason can probably speak more to this, but he's bouncing stuff off the International Space Station and getting things that way, which is kind of cool.
Oh yeah, that's a lot of fun too. We had a video on this past Wednesday on Ham Nation of Larry, WD0AKX up in Minnesota, talking to the lady on the space station. That was kind of neat. You know, it's pretty amazing. We did that here in Wichita a couple of years ago now. It was in January. We set up the antennas, had school kids in to exploration place, and we're on schedule and worked the space station. The kids got to ask questions, and the astronauts answered them, and it was a lot of fun. So, yeah, that's another phase of the hobby I haven't really gotten into a lot, but satellite radio it could be fun.
I have a question on that. How long is the queue if you wanted to talk to somebody in the space station? I assume you have to make some arrangements. Obviously, you can't just barge in and say hi type thing. But like, how far ahead do you have to book that in advance?
Well, no. Well, the things with the schools are booked in advance. You know, they know when the passes are. In fact, you can buy software now that, you know, tell you where the space station is at any time. Tells you where any of these satellites are at any one time. But because they know when they're going to be over a certain area, you can, you know, they work months in advance to schedule the schools, because they have the teachers give lessons and teach the kids about the space station beforehand, and then they have this date set up when there's going to be a pass, and then the hams work with the coordinator from NASA to work out the timing and all the details, and they all meet at the same place at the same time, and the kids get to talk to the astronauts, which is it's pretty neat. So that is done well in advance, probably 2 to 3 months, you know, of planning and evolution. But you can make a contact with a satellite, you know, if you just happen to you have your tracking software and you know when the satellite's going to appear over the horizon, and you're there waiting. You start sending whatever you send, or if you hear somebody, you can work them. Most of them are like a duplex operation with they receive on one band like 440, and then they transmit back on another band like 2 meters. So it's live with most of these low Earth orbiting satellites. And so a lot of people really get into that part of the hobby. It's just, I haven't, but it could be a lot of fun.
Definitely come a long way since Sputnik, where you just had that single signal coming off.
Yes, right then you knew when it was coming over and you listened. It was on 21 megahertz, 15 meters, and it was loud and clear, and you could copy it for about 10, 15 minutes, but all it was doing was sending high, H-I, did it, and it would do it over and over. So that was pretty cool, though, when you're 15, 16 years old and just playing with a radio for the first time.
Yeah. I got a ham-oriented question for you.
I'll try.
When you were back in the day with your ham, as opposed to maybe now, is the sky all clouded up with frequencies and noise and stuff compared to back in the day? I mean, can you is there a difference? I mean, because certainly we have hundreds of thousands of pieces of junk flying around the Earth, and some of them are giving off signals, and there's radio all over the place now, it seems like.
Well, I think there's more noise in general, a higher noise level, higher signal to noise ratio or noise to signal ratio than there was because of all the different transmitters. I mean, in your house, you probably have 100 different noise sources, from the LED light bulbs to the faders to the, you name it. They're putting out RF and creating noise. But in general, the communications on high frequency or HF are cyclical, and it's a 13-year cycle for sunspots. And when the sunspots are low, and like we've had some weeks where there weren't any sunspots at all, the communications is just nearly impossible anywhere above 14 megahertz. I mean, you can usually work on 20 pretty much, but above that, it's just not there. Then when the sunspots come in, you'll get up to 10 meters, 28 megahertz, and you can work the world with 5 watts at that point. So it's a cyclical thing, and we are at the pits right now. I hope we're heading up.
One good thing that's happened when we go and put our CoCo on TV on channel 3 or 4, there is no channel 3 or 4 on there.
They interfere with it, right?
Yeah. None at all.
Well,
yeah.
Well, once a week, CoCo talks on the air for 3 to 4 hours, so I do apologize for all that noise pollution that we're putting out.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that's noise. He's pretty interesting. No, the noise pollution is, from the power lines and there's all kinds of stuff.
Cell phone towers, I imagine, is in there too. And
Oh yeah, I mean, you look at some of these cell phone towers; they have 100 different antennas on them, and they're operating anywhere from 600 megahertz all the way up to a couple of gigahertz, and they're putting out this stuff all the time. And
out here in Arizona, we have fake-looking saguaros, these large cactuses, and they're, basically a shroud for some kind of antennas inside or something. You could go by and you look and you think, well, they're not hiding that very well because it's a stupid-looking cactus,
Pay no attention to the giant cactus.
Yeah, it's fiberglass.
Does it say Acme on the bottom of it anywhere?
I've got a question for you out in Arizona. Are you participating in that television study with the new advanced ATSC? Do you live in that area?
I don't know what it is. Tell me.
It must be in. I thought it was in Phoenix. They're testing, the TV stations there are testing the second version, ATSC 2, so to speak, of television. will allow 4K television on broadcast.
Oh, the second version, but ironically, they're calling it ATSC 3.
Is it 3?
Yeah.
Oh, somehow I thought it was 2, but yeah.
Yeah, they skipped 2. I think they're like Microsoft. They just went ahead and skipped a number.
I just wondered how it was coming out because that could be fantastic, and they've got the tracking in there where they know who's watching, and they give you localized ads and all that kind of stuff like they do on the internet. So it's quite controversial to understand.
Interesting.
Too.
Here in where we live, it's in the mountains, sort of, and you can hardly get any TV even from Phoenix because we're in the mountains here, and we're kind of in a valley.
You're like in a bowl, huh?
Yeah, and we got. I went to Radio Shack before they closed when I first moved here 2 years ago to get an antenna to see just regular TV with an antenna, and the guy at Radio Shack told me. And I was standing there looking at the antennas, and I said, "What about this one?" And he goes, "Nope." I said, "That one there? Nope. How about the expensive one? Nope." He goes, "None of these antennas will get you anything here. I got to tell you, don't even buy it.
You need one higher than the mountain.
Bring it back." Yeah.
you need a 6-mile pole to put that antenna up on. Or something,
I have a friend that lives south of me, and he has access to a valley where he can point his antenna and get the channels from Phoenix, but I can't.
That kind of line of sight, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, Dale, kind of a question here. Like with the color computer community, it tends to be a little bit not a young man's game, but we do see some youth sneaking in from time to time where they have an interest in these old computers and everything. With the ham radio, they've eased the restrictions on the Morse coding to get your license. Is that a good thing? And have you seen a youth wanting to get into ham radio?
Yes, there's quite a few. We, in fact, right after the first of the year, I think it's on the 5th, the ARRL, that's the American Radio Relay League, sponsors Kids Day, they call it, all over the United States. Our local club here sets up a station at Exploration Place, which is a science museum for youngsters. And they operate from there during Kids Day and draw a lot of interest. And they let the kids talk on the radio and things like that. And we have, I've seen stories every once in a while about a 10-year-old getting his amateur extra class license. And, some of these kids are pretty smart too. So,
wow.
Yeah, there's some interest with the youngsters out there. The ham radio community is old. I mean, you look at Ham Nation, and Bob's 78, I'm 77. Gordo's up there too, or probably over 70, I'll bet. And so, yeah, it's time for a change of the watch, so to speak. We need to get the young blood in, and there are people in the ham community working to get the younger kids, boys and girls in. There's a ham down in Florida that has like 3 or 4 daughters, and he's got them all with amateur extra class licenses, I think, and they operate all at best. And I know on Ham Nation we try to promote the youngsters on the air and show videos of them operating and things like that, because it's what the hobby needs now. It's just like it's the same with the computer hobby.
Dale, now how old were you when you got your first amateur license?
I believe I was 15. I was a sophomore. It was, I got my license in like early December of 1956. So I would have been 15 in December 22nd of 56. So, I was 14, I guess, when I first got my license, and then almost 15 at that point. So,
were you a Trekkie?
Kids today.
Were you a Trekkie?
No, but always enjoyed the movies. That's about the extent of it.
Now, your interest in ham radio back when you were a teenager, did you get that from like your dad or something, or is it something you just got interested in on your own, or did you have an influence?
I think it was other kids there in high school. We had a ham club, I had a small high school. I mean, my graduating class was 20. So, but we had a ham club up on the third floor of the old high school building there. And that's how I got involved, I think. And then through that, met people in Wichita where got a little training and got to take the test and actually get a license.
Was that somewhat new technology? Like when you were a teenager, was this ham radio kind of a new consumer thing? Or how young was this industry back then?
Well, it never was a consumer thing, I don't think. I mean, there's been ham since all the American Radio Relay League, I think it was last year, or if not last year, the year before last, it was 100 years old. So that the ARRL is basically the lobbying organization for amateur radio and the fraternity. And it's been 100 years old. So
wow.
The early inventions of spark gap and all that were before that. But I mean, they were still back in the spark gap days back in, 1912, 1913, back in then. Very early, primitive, but it never was a consumer thing. It was more a techie thing.
Okay.
Sort of hobbyist techie, yeah.
Experimenter.
Okay. So this is before there were people building hobby-based computers. There was hobby-based radio.
Long time before.
Yeah.
I mean, I built my first computer in 75. It could have been 74, but I think it was 75. Yeah. And that was one of the first ones available to build at that point. So
the fact there was a ham radio club at your school, though, means that this people were aware that this hobby was out there, and there was obviously an interest for it.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Okay.
That was in the 50s. The hams did a lot of good work in in World War II. I mean, they couldn't get on the air then, but they because of they all served as naval radio telegraph operators and things like that in the Navy. And so there were a lot of hams in the 30s. The Wichita Club here was formed in 35, I think, something like that. So, yeah, the hobby's been around for a long time.
Were you in any color computer clubs at all, local?
No, I sure wasn't. In fact, I don't think I was in any computer clubs where I lived. They really didn't have any. We did travel, every time we got a chance to go to a computer convention, like up in Atlantic City or Philadelphia, places like that. When we were back on the East Coast, we'd usually go to those, but there weren't any local clubs in the area where I lived.
The friend of mine that was that had the color computer and was also into ham radio, he had a program on his computer. I can't remember the name of it, but you could type into it and then it would change the text into Morse code and then send it out on the radio. And then if someone in reverse replied to your message in Morse code, it would come up as text on the screen. Do you think that's cheating? Or were you okay with that?
Well, no,
I have a question. Some people thought that was cheating by having the computer hammer out the Morse code for you.
No, in fact, I used to play around with some programs like that on the CoCo. I remember some of those early programs. Today, your high-speed CW is the continuous wave. It's the acronym. It's the abbreviation for Morse code use. The high speed, 45, 50 words a minute are done with a computer today. Just about every sound card device you can connect to your computer to decode different types of digital signals can decode CW, and can transmit CW too. And so there are a lot of people that use that. And I don't know whether it's cheating. I don't think it's cheating. CW is a effective communications mode as far as signal to noise ratio and everything like that. So it can penetrate bad conditions a lot more than voice can. Voice is terrible when the conditions are bad. So it's a good mode. So it's not really cheating. It's just another way to communicate. And I learned CW back, in the beginning, had to do 5 and then 13. by 5 years into my ham career, I took an ARRL test one time on the air and got a certificate for 35 words a minute.
Yeah.
What amazes me is I can still sit down and I could probably copy 10 to 15 words a minute now in my head, just listening. I have no idea in the world how I could still do that 60 years later. So it's amazing. So,
if you think about it, I would have to wager that the fact that we've had Morse code, much longer than we had like analog modem communications, the fact that we knew we could send sound over the airwaves and over copper wires is probably what inspired the computer modems, because they're basically encoding, bits into ons and sound, sound breaks, kind of like the short and long stops of Morse code. Is to me that's like what a modem does. A phone modem is just turning information into noise and reverse.
That's like fax.
Right.
When that
You have your
came out.
Yeah.
What was that, Ron?
Fax years ago. Fax came out before the computers too, and you can get a picture, way back.
Yeah.
It's just, it's basically comes down to the analog to digital conversion and the digital and analog conversion. And then the protocol, the modems just have different code they're using than the Morse code. So all the different modes that we have today, like PSK, which is phase shift keying, and you got JT and FT8 and all kinds of things. They all use different coding to transmit their signals, but it still boils down to an analog to digital converter.
Sure.
And the reverse on the other end of the route. So, it's fascinating.
One other thing to ask you, are you familiar with Mars?
Oh, yes.
Yes. It's a military.
It's a military affiliate radio system or station.
I had a friend that was into that, and I used to go over his house and listen to him talk to other people. And I guess it's a group of people that are raised when there's emergencies and stuff. Or you probably know more about it than I'm trying to figure out.
Well, it's Mars it's been around for years. It was especially prevalent. Took a big step on the stage in the Vietnam War. The Mars stations would provide what you call third-party communication. They do telephone patches to the servicemen overseas.
Oh,
so they would go to a ham station, a Mars station, at their unit, and then they would talk to a ham or a Mars station here. They would patch it into the phone lines anywhere in the country, and then that way the families back here could talk to the servicemen. And you don't need that today with the satellite communications and the satellite phones and everything, but that was very important back in those days. And today, they still do all kinds of service to help out the military with communications. So you can participate in that. You can revolve your life around it if you wanted to. They operate on frequencies just outside the amateur band that are dedicated to the military, and it's like amateur radio, except it's for a very defined purpose. So yes, Mars it's been around for years, and it's a very important part of the amateur hobby.
Cool.
Neat.
When you go to, if you go to like ham flea markets and stuff, do you see the occasional color computer there?
I really haven't. I always have
Okay.
a lookout. I always keep a lookout, but I never have. But basically, all you see is all these Windows PCs, man. They're everywhere. So. That's about it. I haven't really seen a color computer at one.
How are we doing
Yes,
time for you, Dale, here? Because it's 22 now.
Yeah, I probably better sign off before too long. But I'll take the last round of questions if there are any.
Any from our other radio enthusiasts like Jason the CoCo Man? Too bad Tom C's not here today. Another one of our radio guys.
Right.
Oh boy. Well, you've went over a lot in amateur radio there. Now, before the show, we talked about Dayton Hamvention. Have you been to Hamvention since they changed the venue from the old Hara Arena?
Yes. Yes. I went to O'Hara twice, and then the last time I went was the first year at the county fairgrounds there south of Dayton, Green County Fairgrounds, I believe, and it was a nice place. They had growing pains that first day of the first year, and we drove down on Friday and got caught in a traffic jam. Finally turned back, went back to the motel up at the air base there, and then came back a little bit later and drove right in. But yes, it's very nice facilities, and I think they're adding a new building there because of Hamvention, because some of the exhibits were in tents and things like that. But most of the buildings are air conditioned, and really a great venue, a lot of good food. It was a lot better than Hara there at Green County.
Wonderful, and it was even better the second year they had it there. They've worked out a lot of the bugs, so that's great.
I missed that. I don't know whether I'll go this year or not. I know our ham club is sponsoring a bus trip to Hamvention. I got to check it out and find out how much it costs, and maybe be able to go on that. That might be nice. So we'll see. It's a lot of fun. That's quite a place. So.
Well, I must say you did pretty good with remembering stuff. You said you didn't think you could think of anything.
I think I could. I
did pretty well.
There's a lot of details I've forgotten. I tell you.
The hardest part about remembering is recalling, and I guess when you hear the right keyword, and it just helps you recall certain things. I'm the same way. I won't know what to say until somebody asks me a question, like, "Oh yeah," so.
Yeah, that's very true. Because once somebody asks a question, it's, "Oh yeah, I remember that."
Yeah.
Yeah, or you hear somebody talking about something else semi-related, and all of a sudden that tweaks a memory.
Yeah.
I got
something like the old days at the Color Computer Rainbow Fest, though. I mean, that was something else. I mean, that was amazing.
I would have liked to have seen a Rainbow Fest. I missed out on
back
that.
in the heyday when it was like standing room only, and seminars were lined up outside the rooms, and it was awesome.
Now, are you familiar with Tandy Assembly? And we still have CoCo Fest,
Yeah, we have CoCo Fest is going on 28 years now in a row, and Tandy Assembly's had 2 years now too. They're kind of specific computer events.
I'll be darned. I've still got my Tandy portable. What is a Model 100 or something like that? Oh wow! Yeah, I saved that because I thought, man, this is going to be a collector's item.
Yeah, they are.
It works.
Yeah, run a AA batteries or something for that thing, right? So.
Right. Well, I don't think it's AA, but yeah, it's C's maybe.
C battery. Okay, something like that. Yeah.
I haven't looked at it, but I've still got it downstairs.
Amazing. Yeah.
That's about it from here. I really appreciate the opportunity. It's been fun.
We appreciate having you on.
Rainbow, all the names, so it's an honor to be here. And we'll try to. I'll have to send Ron a note or something, get links to a couple of things, and find out about some of.
Yeah, I'll send it to you as well. Yeah. Well, you have a happy birthday today too. Thanks for joining us on your birthday.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
You got it. Thanks, Dan.
Anytime.
And thanks, Curtis, and thanks, Ron Delvaux, for lining this up for us.
It's good.
Excellent. Very, very cool. Oh, Chet has joined us now. Paul Thayer has joined us. We get some more people joining us. Excellent, excellent. All right, how about we do this? Because it has been a little bit. We'll go ahead and take a break, and then we'll come back and more after this. So thank you so much, Dale, for being with us. And we'll be back in just a few.
Okay.
Hey, this is Bruce Moore, author of Force of Doom, and you're watching The Original Gamer, Stevie Stroke.
In a RGB produces black and white video. One cable can make a difference. Switcheroo. CoCo3ScartCable.com.
What's going on, guys? Stevie Stroh here, and I want to say thank you so much for being part of this adventure with us. It's been such a great experience in doing CoCoTALK every week, and the support we get is just amazing. And so the fact that you watch and listen is all the reward that we need. However, if you would like to become a patron of the show and offer some financial assistance towards the production and hosting costs of the show, we do have a Patreon site available for that, and you can reach that by going to our website at CoCoTalk.live and clicking on the Patreon link. But just do us a favor and watch and listen to the show.
Where can you catch all the latest news and information about the Tandy Color Computer and Compatibles? Oh yeah, I'm talking about the CoCo Crew Podcast. Dig it each month. Join John, Neil, and Mike as they lay down the latest news and information about the Radio Shack Tandy Color Computer and Compatibles. Groove to interviews, tech segments, and discussions all about the Radio Shack Tandy Color Computer. Strut your fine self over to www.cococrew.org and start listening today. The CoCo Crew Podcast. Keeping it CoCo, dig?
Fletcher, I don't need that report tomorrow.
Great, JT.
I need it tonight.
But JT...
Fletcher saved $300 on her office away from the office. Radio Shack's revolutionary Model 100 computer. It's a word processor, phone directory, and dialer. It even communicates with the office computer.
Fletcher, how's that report? Fletcher.
Radio Shack's Model 100. Save $300 and put it to work.
You'll go far, Fletcher. You'll go far.
We now return you to CoCoTALK.
Hello, hello, hello. We're waiting for the screen to come back. There we go. Well, Ron Delvaux, your next celebrity interview is to get a hold of Fletcher to see what she's been up to, because we really need to know what Fletcher has been up to.
How far has she gone?
I imagine she's CEO by now.
Yes, yes. But, you know, Fletcher went far. We need to see how far Fletcher went. Fletcher might be up on the International Space Station right now beaming back packets. That might be as far as she got. You just never know.
Just never know.
You just never know. Well, we've had, what a great way to start off the show. Thank you for pulling that together. So let's get back and let's start off by saying hi to everybody who's been in the live chat. So we started off with some of our friends from across the pond. So Ben Drakes was here. That was our VR buddy who did the Phantom Slayer for us. David Mitchell was here. Davey Mitchell, of course. Richard Lorbieski has been here. Tim Franklin is here. Hello, Tim. John Lowry is here, who's also now in the panel. Nick Marotta has been here in the live chat. Rob Inman's out there. Coco Man's out there. And SynthTweaks.com, who is David O'Connor, I think is who that was. Bacchius is out there. Hello, Bacchius. Richard Lorbieski. Ken Reichard is out there. And Mark Overholzer has been out there chatting. And who else? Nick Marotta. James Diffendaffer. I guess James had a little internet glitch. I guess so David O'Connor has now changed his name from Synth Eyes to David O'Connor. And who else is here? All kinds of people. Plenty of Nick Marotta out there. David O'Connor. Paul Shoemaker has just joined us. Nick Marotta's here. And Kanai was just here a second ago too. Kanai Andrews. So we've caught up on who's been out there in the live chat. So we're holding strong at 29 viewers right now on YouTube. Hello to you one and all. So then we can get back to our panel because we missed out on on panel introductions. So again, I'll just review who's here, and then maybe we can play catch up. So we've got Ron Delvaux with us, and L. Curtis Boyle, Jason the Coco Man Reichert, Mark Revision D. Overholzer's with us in the house. Nick Marentes is here. Chet Simpson has joined us. Paul Thayer, John Lowry, Brian Weasler, and Mark Bosley are all here. Welcome, one and all. Happy Merry almost Christmas, as we're only a couple days away from an old Saint Nick pays us a visit. Once again, Ron Delvaux, thanks for bringing in the hits, platinum hits. Mark Overholzer a while ago was saying he was reviewing our past 4 episodes. We've had like back-to-back interviews, and they've all been thank you to our talent coordinator, Ron Delvaux. So thank you, Ron.
Sure.
Just make sure you get Fletcher on. So I must ask the question, Ron, because I know you're a busy man. Have you had any time to post anything to Facebook this week?
Not just once, maybe twice.
3 times.
Yeah.
Yep, maybe 3 times.
What's new and exciting with you this? Anything new, Ron? Any new toy you've dusted off?
I've elevated Ed Snyder to Man of the Year.
You have. We saw that. I got a link to that.
Well, he deserves it. He's, it's end of the year, and the guy works his butt off, it seems like.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's actually a debate whether it's Man of the Year or Cylon of the Year. We're still
Cylon of the Year.
debating that.
And L. Curtis Boyle, I know at least one of your announcements. I won't steal your thunder, but go ahead.
Do it.
I have an announcement? No, I'm just kidding. Ease of Use Beta 3 was released yesterday. I did a very small minor update to the zip files today. I had a couple new people that have never tried it before, and for some reason I thought, everybody's going to be trying it. It's already been trying it, so I didn't have to re-put all the old docs in from the previous version. That was a mistake, so I've changed the uploads. They now have the complete set of documentation from Alpha 2 all the way up to present time so that people can catch up.
So the one I downloaded just before we went live, is that current?
Yep, it should be.
Okay.
I mean, it was just the docs I changed, the images.
Oh, okay. There's no nothing changed in the runtime?
No.
The binaries or executables all the same? Excellent.
Yeah, and Bill's already hard at work on the next version, so I'm taking a bit of a break.
Okay. Much needed. Grab yourself some Tim Hortons. Just expense it to your CoCo Crew, account. I mean, CoCoTALK, expense account. Excellent. Jason the Coco Man Reichert, anything you want to share with us, sir?
Yeah, I'll be generous in sharing today. I just wanted to, really haven't had a chance to talk about this, but I just wanted to bring up the Wallaby cable that I have now, the available now wherever Wallaby cables are sold. It's the dual RGB cable for the Color Computer 3. Matter of fact, you can see behind me there. I have a CM8 and a ViewSonic running off a switcheroo and a SCART converter, and
excellent.
All the same
time.
Switcheroo.
I'm not exactly sure what I'd do with that, but I want one.
Yeah, look, there's 2 of them right now.
Yeah, Mark Revision D Overholzer's got a couple of those.
Yeah, and some of the folks that made it out, it's debuted at Tandy Assembly.
Yes,
and that was the reaction. I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but I want. And one of my applications I had for this was when I'm testing the switcheroo cables, rather than after I've built them,
having to dig under your CoCo every single time.
Yeah, I don't have to dig under the CoCo anymore. Even if I don't use that second port, I can.
It's like an extension cord.
Right, and I had, I believe it was had a fellow at Tandy Assembly.
Jim Brain says, "Oh, look, it's the dingo showing off his Wallaby cable."
Yeah.
But I can think of one really good use for it is if you're displaying at Tandy Assembly or CoCo Fest, you can have one monitor facing in where you're sitting behind your table if you're an exhibitor, and the other one can be facing the public, and you both get RGB instead of one of you having to look at crappy composite.
Like hypothetically, if you were going to run people through an admissions process into an event and you wanted to use
Perhaps
your CoCo
I might have been hinting at that. Or like if you want to do live coding and have people critique you in real time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Hey,
interesting.
Jason, with your cable there, and I hope I'm not open up a can of worms here, though. But is there a length limit on that cable? Like if a person wanted to have one like that that's 2 foot long or 3 foot long for some reason, have you experimented at all with that?
I haven't experimented with that much of a length with this. I tried to keep this relatively short. It's really just enough cable to get it out from under the CoCo 3. I have had a request for some longer cable for my switcheroo, which is something I'm playing around with. He wanted about a 2 meter, or that's about 6 feet or so cable, and I've been playing around with that. My concerns is using just this regular ribbon cable. There may be some noise issues, but that's something I'm looking into, but I haven't gotten very far with.
Have you thought about sending the RGB cable through packet radio at all, or?
At 1200 baud, it's going to take a long time. I knew another ham that he said at the point where the internet was popular. He said, instead of running 1200 baud packet radio, I could just stick needles in my arm and it would be about the same. It'd be just that painful. But I mean, packet radio still gets used today, not for the purposes that Dale talks about anymore, but we do have, of course, still contacts with the space station and another service, the APRS. It's a position reporting service using 1200 baud packet. But when you're just sending out your coordinates and your call sign, it's a 1200 baud. That's not a lot of data, and it's a really quick burst. But the other thing with the Wallaby cable is a fellow at Tandy Assembly, it was Mr. Reitveld, said, you know what, I have a multi-pack and I use different monitors, and I hate, and it's really tough, and you risk damage to the computer, plugging and unplugging multi-pack to get under there. And he bought one just for that purpose.
Yeah, good point.
So, but if anybody wants one, they're available, and at cocoman.biz, and it's
how much?
They're $10 plus shipping. So if you go to cocoman.biz, I think like shipping in the United States is an additional $5, and I have ones for Canada and some other countries, and of course, if there's a different quantity or somewhere I don't have on the list, there's a link to contact me and we can work that out. But
excellent.
Do you still give reports of like the kind of saturation in Uganda or anything?
Well, we're really early into this. I mean,
I see.
It's a new product, man.
New product.
Excellent.
I think you can probably forecast the market in Uruguay. He'll reach 100%.
100% saturation.
In just a couple months, if that.
It could happen. I know a guy.
Excellent. And Mark Overholzer, anything new and exciting going on for you this week? Besides the haircut?
Yeah, the haircut. Now, let's see. I got the CoCo 3 and the CoCo 2 last week. I did get this really nice boomerang in the mail.
Oh, look at that from Nick Marentes, eh?
A real boomerang board.
A real boomerang.
Yeah, it came with this too.
Wow. That's
neat.
I
didn't get one of those with my Pop Star pilot.
Did you order it from Australia?
Yes.
I got mine from Australia, and all I got was this. All I got was this DVD case with a video that I'm on.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, the decent record package there.
Yeah, I got the video that I'm in with as you've said, with more hair. But I think all of us had more hair 18 or 19 years ago too.
I think Mark paid a bit more.
I did.
Yeah, he paid additional amounts. I thought, well, I've got to either give him back his money or compensate him. So I compensated.
That's neat.
I appreciate the authentic boomerang.
Have you thrown it yet?
No, I haven't. Is it guaranteed to come back?
It's supposed to.
David Ladd, yes.
Yeah.
I was worried about damaging the paint. It's nicely hand painted with this great. Got this great stuff.
Does it have a connection for the DAT board and a blinky light on it?
No, it does not.
Well, if you're worried about it, you can just throw the DVD case instead.
Excellent. Rob Inman says that Gunstar will be shipped with a complimentary gun. Excellent.
I just noticed mine's. I have a signature inside of mine there. It's hard to see, but there's a. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one in there somewhere. I'm not. It's been a while since I've held things up to the camera, so I'll just.
Yeah, I got a.
Yeah, it's there somewhere. Yeah, I can't see yours either on camera, so we're even.
There we go.
And Rupert Rhythm ships with a grand piano.
Keytar.
Yeah, Keytar.
Why they're shipping so much.
Excellent.
Donut Dilemma come with Tim Hortons then?
Yeah.
Well, that's a regional thing.
Yeah. Could be Dunkin' Donuts or it could be Krispy Kreme. You just never know.
Oh, it's Tim Hortons.
So,
I should be able to.
Hortons in
I should be able to squeeze a donut in there, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
And send some of those little
Not a
chocolate
jelly filled
donuts.
one. That'll get messy.
They don't weigh very much, so it shouldn't affect the shipping cost too much.
They don't go off in 2 months in the mail, do they?
Nah.
Then you really do have a donut dilemma.
Nah. Yes, you do. Wah, wah, wah. There you go. Very, very cool. Who else has got anything they want to share this week? Anybody have anything happening? John Lowry, we haven't had you on a little bit. Things good with you? Anything new and exciting?
Nothing really new and exciting, but yeah, I'm doing well. And that was a cool interview with Dale. Definitely a name I've heard over the years, and just another, in this group, there's all these names that I recognize.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it's cool stuff. And it's
Cool
neat.
T-shirt.
It's neat because it turns them from more than just a name that I remember from years ago into a person and what they're like and other things they do in their life and stuff. It's really cool to get that from everybody, from all the names I recognize from years ago.
Yeah, what were you going to say, Nick?
He's got a cool T-shirt.
Oh, John does?
The Pac-Man
on
T-shirt.
there.
Yeah, this is the one article of clothing that I've owned in my life that I've gotten more comments from than any other piece of clothing I've ever owned. Everybody
Nick just likes it because it's a screenshot of his version of Pac-Man, I think. So.
Yeah, it says
not mine.
No,
that's the original. Yeah.
That'd be the transcode.
Oh, speaking of the Pac-Man and the transcode, I did hear from Glenn Hewlett via email. So he's alive and well, and he's doing well. He's had things in life that have been occupying his time, but he just shot a quick note saying that he's enjoyed listening to the show and the videos, and hopefully we'll hear from him next year. So that's kind of cool. Yeah.
More importantly, how's his Defender going?
Yeah, well, I guess because of everything else, his projects have been on hold. So, but yeah, hopefully we'll get more on that maybe next year. Brian Weasler, anything new and exciting with you?
Just a couple eBay purchases. I don't have them within arm's reach right now, but a couple ROM cartridges I picked up, Star Blaze and Downland.
Neat.
ROM cartridges, but I don't have them with arm reach for show and tell, but I think everybody knows what they are.
Downland is evil.
So, yeah, other than that, nope. And I've been playing around with the Nitrous 9. I started messing around with that last weekend and got that all set up on my computer here. So
I immediately came out with an update. Now you have to do it again.
Yes.
Yeah.
But nope, I'm on track with that one. I had a few questions, and Curtis got me straightened out. And so, yep. So playing around with that, and I'm going to start digging around.
Neat. And Mark Bosley, anything new and exciting with you?
Well, a little bit. I got my STC in last night.
Nice.
Haven't had much time to play with it much yet. And I was working with Curtis on Discord, getting a couple little issues ironed out. So that's about it so far.
Excellent.
Looking forward to your reviews on the EOU Beta 3 here, because especially if you're running on a 6.809, the speed ups on some of the graphic stuff is pretty decent, I think.
Yeah, I'm running a 6309 now.
Well, it's even faster on that, so that's no problem. But
yeah, I got to be able to see it first, so I got to fix my cable.
Very cool. Cool. And we got our three video game developers here in the bottom of the screen here. So we'll start on the bottom of the world with Nick Marentes. Good day, Nick.
Good day. Yeah. Nothing new to report on my end, except I got my Ed Snyder's CoCo PSG cartridge running. I've had it a while, but just haven't had time to use it. So I thought
Okay.
I'd fire it up and listen to the sound, which got it going. Had a few problems through the week, but sorted out.
Actually, one thing I'll mention,
yeah.
Nick, because we talked about it, and actually you demonstrated for me, is that we were talking about sound speech games, because Stevie and I did a kind of run through, and one I had not remembered to do, and one you tried and actually does have some sound effects and stuff, and it is Interbank Incident.
Oh, that's all voice, right? It's all speech.
No, it's got sound effects.
No,
like
sound
running
effects.
waves
It actually has sound
Yeah.
effects. Ooh,
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because otherwise
I apologize for missing that one back in our original review, Stevie.
Yeah, well, we'll have to do that. Maybe we'll do a Interbank live stream marathon.
It could even be of all the games, it could be the one that uses the cartridge the most, both
Really?
voice and sound. Yeah.
Hey,
Okay.
that would be a good game to play for a year.
Yeah.
Start on the
New Year's Eve and start playing it and
play it for a year.
Yeah. Excellent. Wow. Very cool. And Paul, the Timberman Maker Thayer, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, good. How's everybody doing today?
Good, good. Merry almost Christmas. How you been, man?
Merry almost Christmas to you. It was a really cool interview with Dale Puckett. That was cool to have him on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just working on my Sokoban type game called Pico Prod, and just doing some revamps on that. As I was getting into it, some things were getting complex, and I just rethought and made some things simpler. I was talking to my son last night, and we were going to add a couple elements to the game that I'm kind of excited about. Because initially you start out kind of pushing some pegs around, kind of pushing them out of your way to get to the goal, pick up a key to open doors, things like that. And then I added this character that's an eyeball, and it's like a turn-based type follow you. So it's not always constantly moving towards you, but when you move, it'll move closer to you.
Okay.
And if it touches you, it'll kill you. And there's also lasers that you can push mirrors around and bend them. The eyeball would not pass any lasers either. And then we thought of a character, like, I don't know if anybody's like kind of seen some of my videos, but your character's like this little yellow guy kind of bouncing around. We were going to make a shadow character, which is basically looks the same, but it's gray. And when you move, it moves in the same direction, and he might have to help you solve a puzzle kind of thing. So just some things to kind of add some depth to it, because I'm going to have room for probably doing 40 to 80 levels. I don't know if I'm going to do that many, but I wanted to add some elements so that we could have at least like 20 to 30 and have them not get boring. So that's where I'm at.
Okay. Very, very cool. And what about you, Chet? What's been going on with you this week?
Oh, the past couple of weeks I've been able to get some stuff running for tutorials that I'm doing for using TileAd and the map converter that I've got for doing games. In fact, I'm refactoring all of the Digger stuff in order to use it. Hoping to get some new updates for that up sometime over the weekend.
Neat. These are your kind of these are the tools you use to make software?
Yeah, these are Tiled is a free tool that's available already, and then I've got a converter for all of their map stuff. So it's one of those things that makes it a little bit easier to to put stuff together, and hoping to get tutorial up there so that some of the people that have been interested in using it will be able to actually start applying it.
Yeah, cool. And I now have downloaded your latest version of Digger 3. I've actually got it on my card, and maybe we can even show off a little peek of that on the show as I go through. That's where we cover the news and stuff, and we can show off Curtis's Nitrous 9 Beta 3, and I've got Digger 3. For those of you who were all on the community roundtable discussion last week, I think it was Saturday night with the CoCo crew, nice discussion. I got to hear it during the week, so it was very cool to hear things going on. I think one of the takeaways I got from that, which was a great question towards the end, was are we integrating with the Dragon community as well as we could? And I think unanimously, most of us agreed, no, we'd love to have more involvement with the dragon folk. And so one of the things I did today before, as I was getting ready to post information on the show and stuff, I did throw a message out there in the Dragon CoCo group, just kind of reminding them, listen, you guys are always welcome. We have a show every Saturday, and we've had a number of the members on, and, we'd love to have you. And so I just want to remind you and re-invite you. We would love to have more Dragon people on the show to share, to share their love of that system and, keep us abreast of what's going on in that community. So hopefully we can foster more of that. And I think we've got, we've been trying to talk about some of the news that as we know it, like the AGD stuff and some of the stuff that Pear's doing with porting some of the ZX Spectrum games to the Dragon and the CoCo. So we'll try to call them when we see them, but it's always better to get it from the source. So I would love to have a couple of correspondents that just join us once a week or every other couple of weeks, and even a segment like the Dragon's Den or the Dragon's Corner or something, and just have us talk about what's new across the pond, or just what's going, even if it's not new, what's old, what are the games that we're talking about, So
yeah, what's old that we have not seen here?
Yeah, because there's so much that's it's old to them, but it would be new to us. So so now I'm verbally extending that that invitation as well. You guys are always welcome. But no,
now,
good.
How
good
many
talk.
of us on the panel have a dragon?
I've got one. I've got the Tano, so I've got the U.S. Dragon, not the U.K.
Tano
Dragon.
64.
Yeah, Tano 64.
There's one in view right here.
Yeah. Ron's got one right over his shoulder, right over his left shoulder. Yeah.
David Ladd has a Tano also.
Yep. Yes. So cool stuff. Good discussion.
This week I got on Irata Online.
Okay, yeah. I saw pictures of that.
Yep. Using Plato Term, which I got from Brett.
Okay.
And it was smooth. It loaded in. I used my what did I use?
It's using DriveWire, right?
DriveWire 4, yes.
Right.
And it was you just actually, if you just have it as Drive 1, and as soon as you log in, it comes up automatically. And what's really cool is you have a mouse. And being online with a mouse is just a little bit weird.
Yeah. Now did you
the Irata system had a touch screen on the version 3 and 4 terminals. And so mouse is. Yeah.
What do you have to boot into to launch Plato Term? Because I remember before there was one that was running on Phuzix, or is it running on something else now? Is it OS9? Or is it just run straight on RS-DOS? Or
RS-DOS.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And I noticed the one you were showing us a screenshot from, it looked like it was in the CoCo 2 mode, like the green, the dark green.
Yeah, it is in CoCo 2. I tried my 3, but it locked up.
Okay.
I don't know why that happened. Maybe I think it's because I have two meg board on my machine. Maybe that had something to do with it. I haven't tried it on a 512K CoCo yet.
Okay.
Yeah, the one really nice thing about Plato Term is that actually runs on a CoCo 1 or 2, or Dragon 64, I would imagine, as well. With maybe
now, I have Composite on my CoCo 2, so it was readable, but it's marginal.
Okay.
So you really have to have a good screen, like
RGB for the win.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the CoCo 3, what I saw of it before it crashed, it looked pretty good. I mean, you could read it really well. It was very clean. Yeah.
The Plato Term screen is 512 by 512 by 512. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think it's square.
Based on square pixels.
Yeah, well, not so much square pixels, but so it actually has to be scaled down for most systems. So.
Right.
It kind of reminds me of the Vectrix because it writes the lettering out.
Okay. It's kind of the vector based.
Right, it's vector based.
Yeah, Ron has a couple of demo videos up on his page. They're kind of showing it in action. So
in Ron's garage, yes.
Yeah, that thing he never posts to.
Yeah. Hey, Greg is out there in the live chat saying, "Hey, it's fun watching the train wreck." Screw you, Greg. Oh my goodness, cool. Yeah, excellent. Is there anything else we want to bat around before we start talking about some of the news stuff I've got queued up? Any burning topics or not burning topics?
Did you get the Paul Shoemaker game update I threw into Discord late?
Paul Shoemaker update you threw in is this? Yes. Telengard.
Yeah, it's Telengard thing. He's got an update on that. Okay.
Yes, I have that linked up and queued up.
Cool.
That looks really cool.
Yeah. There was a couple of things showing off 1-bit graphics, monochrome graphics, and honestly, it's hard to get other than text-based, ANSI graphics. It's harder to get much more retro than a monochrome 1-bit graphics mode.
Like a Hercules card on.
especially low resolution.
It looks really good though for the resolution.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. So
it's one of the times where you have a CM8, which is only RGB, would be perfect for this because it was going to be crystal clear black.
Yeah, you can see every pixel as it was meant to be seen, in full fidelity. So this is going to be our last live show before Christmas, right? Christmas is Tuesday of next week. So this is kind of sort of like our Christmas Eve episode. I don't know if you guys maybe want, like, how we did a Thanksgiving night thing. So I don't know if you want to do like a real live Christmas Eve brief, just talk about whatever type thing. So maybe we'll just bat that around and see.
Is Santa Claus going to come?
Oh yeah, we'd have to be done before midnight, and because we're because time is a moving target around the globe, we got to pick a time where we can be off the air before midnight. But yeah, so I'll throw that out there. I don't know if you guys want to do something like that, but if not, this is technically our Christmas Eve episode. So if I don't talk to you guys between now and Christmas, hope you guys all do have a Merry Christmas. I was thinking about for New Year's that we could probably do like a year-end review and just talk about some of our favorite moments of what's happened this year in the community between episodes of the CoCo crew and episodes of CoCoTALK and maybe things that we remember from Facebook. The only thing that's going to be easy for me to compile is I'll just come up with a list of our episodes and like what the topics were for our 80 some odd episodes, or at least and maybe we can just kind of spitball on that and say, oh yeah, it was great hearing about this or that or whatever. Here's Grant coming back saying, screw you, Stevie. Yeah, right back at you.
He's a little slow today.
Yeah. Double screw you back to you, Greg. And no takebacks. So maybe we can just do a verbal best of episode talking about, some of our fond memories and stuff. Because, I'm not going to have time to edit anything. So, good times. So anything else before we jump into some of the pre-queued up news articles for the week?
Nothing for me.
No. All right, so we're gonna jump over to news, and
I'm gonna jet. Thank you guys.
Hey,
for having me
no
on.
problem. And of course, now here's my. Why am I not getting my left screen? You gotta love technology, right? Somewhere in my doohickey here should be.
That's a technical term, doohickey.
Left monitor here. Yeah. What is going on with the left monitor? That's it. There we go. So why is that not there? Why did that not stay there? I don't know, because I've made this change I don't know how many times, and every time I make this change, I could swear that I hit save. But it seems like every time I switch over, I have to spend 2 minutes spitballing trying to find the thing again. All right, so one of the things that's new this week, and I'll be able to show this off. Maybe we'll save the show and tell for after the news segment. But Nitrous 9 Ease of Use project download page. We are now on beta 3, and there's a 6309 and a 6809. And Curtis, you want to speak to the enhancements, which I believe mostly benefit 6809 users?
Yeah, Bill and I have been working on the graphics drivers, both bug fixing and speed up enhancements and stuff. So beta 2 had some that get put buffers basically were sped up, which is why the bouncing ball demo ran faster. And now screen clearing, line drawing, bar drawing, filled circle, filled ellipse, clear to end of screen, clear to end of line. All those routines have been sped up. So stuff like G Shell runs noticeably faster if you compare it between the two, between beta 2 and beta 3. And someday what I'd like to do, I didn't get a chance to set it up for a video, but just to show how far we've come since the original OS9 level 2 days, I would love to show first of all, what G Shell looked like back then, which was terrible, and also how friggin' slow it was compared to what we're doing now. I mean, we're literally multiple times faster on just about everything. So it'd be nice to kind of see how it's progressed just as a historical thing.
So this would be the equivalent of like pulling out one of the photos of your mullets.
I didn't put any digitized pictures of my mullets on there. I did throw a bunch of GIFs in there.
Yeah.
Or GIFs, depending on how you want to pronounce it. So
Yes, you did.
there's a few I specifically threw on for Ron. There's a few space-oriented ones. So
Yeah, I seen them.
had a
They're
chance
good.
to... Oh, you did see them? Okay.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay.
And I fixed up some sound files. We got the graphics speed ups. There's a couple new games installed. Control panels, a separate run. I think I kind of described it there, and the docs actually go into a bit more detail. But there's a few little bits of changes there. And new programs for both CPUs.
Excellent. And I think I've got them both downloaded to my CoCo SDC, so we'll take a look at one of those. So John Lowry posted this picture here, which is great because this is a follow-up to Ron Delvaux's CoCo Watch that he showed up on the show last week. And so this is this one's got a few more features apparently. So it looks like it's got a communications module on the side and a ROM cartridge slot. It's got a real-time clock on there.
Sleeping bag.
So that's pretty damn cool. It's great to see what, imagination.
Had an 8-track there, and it's all ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you also see the Apple Watch thing I did? It's on the post that Ron did with his Watch CoCo thing.
Oh, I don't know, but I'm not going to go digging for it now. If you throw out the link, I'll try to find it. But yeah,
it's down under.
Under this one.
Yeah, it's. There's so many respondents that.
Yeah. This is one of the ones that John posted. So, anyways, I thought that was kind of cool. So we'll have to look for that one. But yeah, so Ron had threw up a picture of his CoCo Watch last week, and this was John's response to that. Good stuff. Now, we had the conversation. This was also mentioned on the roundtable discussion you guys were having about Frank Hogg. He said he had bought up a bunch of gimmies, but he doesn't remember what happened to him. And then Ron got the information, right? And what was the deal there, Ron?
He said that he had sold them to a company he didn't know the name of.
Yeah, okay. But a company that used a CoCo for an industrial controller bought them all. Yep. So he had them and then he sold them all off. We don't remember who that company is, but they're now gone, right? So
they're setting in somebody's they're setting in somebody's inventory on a shelf.
Yeah. What a shame. Nice 87 gimme there.
Yep.
So hopefully that'll spark more interest in the Gimme X, right?
Yep.
Now last week a week or so ago we started showing off the rainbow mock-up that Ron Delvaux did about a year ago, right? So the discussion happened, people got excited. Wouldn't it be neat if there'd be a rainbow? And Ron actually went as far as producing a 20-some-odd page rainbow in PDF format, in electronic format. We did throw up a website.
More like 36.
Or whatever it was, 36. Yeah. So it was a lot. So we had an initial mock-up, and there was some excitement, and then I don't know where it went. It kind of didn't go anywhere, right? So then this sparked another kind of mock cover where Ben Jimenez says, here's my idea of a new CoCo magazine, right? So wouldn't this be some cool features here? 1024 colors and beyond, right? That would be nice, right? Color Basic 4.0 is here with over 50 new commands. SIM card adapter for your color computer. This is almost getting into like the CoCo Forever, right? Like, an alternate reality if we had all this kind of 37 new games for the Color Computer 4, including Minecraft, Fortnite, and Battlefield.
I think you need more 1024 colors for that, don't you?
Yeah, right. Using the Color Computer's the Color Computer 4's built-in basic compiler. I mean, these are some great wish list items. If you want to spitball and say what would be nice to have, why not have all of these things here? So, yeah, that's a really cool. Re-review the Color Computer 4, codename Chico. Color Computer Magazine, right? So that's a really cool mock-up there. And of course, that gets some conversations going. It gets the people talking. And then, and I think you linked over, Ron, to the one you had put, I guess, on your site, right?
Mark Overholzer got people stimulating.
Yeah. We'll get to that one. I got that link here too. This, speaking of 1-bit graphics, right? So this was something that Ben Jimenez posted where he had converted some stuff down to run on the CoCo, and this looks really good, right? This is like P mode 0 stuff, and here's a mock-up screen.
Looks like clip art, don't it?
It almost does look like something you'd see on a Photoshop, or what are the print masters and the print shop programs and stuff that used to print things out that were very low res stuff. Yeah. So that's kind of cool. I'd love to see something like this. Working on getting some graphics into my game for use for player encounters. P mode 0 graphics below. Made a simple tool to convert graphics from my PC to CoCo code. So that's kind of neat. So I guess you could just pull some images off the internet if you wanted to and convert them down to run on the CoCo. So those look pretty good. These look nice. I would love to see any type of game that featured some images like that. Anybody got any feedback on this here? What you saw? What you thought?
No, it looks really good. And Paul Shoemaker's Telengard clone that we'll be coming up to a little bit later is kind of along the same lines with some really nice detailed graphics.
Yeah.
Black and white.
Nice.
Now, Go ahead.
Oh, it's just nice seeing all these new games that are coming out. People getting motivated and making new stuff.
Right. Now, I think Nick Marentes was mentioning on one of these that he mentioned that this might artifact, but I think P mode 4's or P mode 0's pixels are big enough where they really shouldn't artifact, right? Because they're double wide, right?
Is that P mode 0? Is it?
P mode 0, yeah.
Okay.
So I think the I don't think a solid white would artifact, right?
You'd probably get color fringing on the edges of the pixels.
Yeah, that's possible.
Not as bad
either way, you can just turn the color down on the composite TV anyway.
Yeah.
Or use some kind of RGB display.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but if this is running on a standard CoCo 2, you might not have that. So just turn the color down. We used to do it all the time back in the 80s because none of the artifacted games looked correct.
Right.
On a PAL CoCo, so I used to just turn the color down so you didn't get all that ugly color fringing.
Right.
So that'll be the same.
Yeah. And while we're talking about this, there has been a sidebar conversation in the live chat about is there ever been a game on the CoCo that would be similar to like a Street Fighter style game? And I think a few people have been chiming in on that, like some
one-on-one.
Well, I mean, Nick Marentes showed off a title screen of something he had worked on where he had kind of like almost like his version of Mortal Kombat, where he had screen captured a real human being for a potential fighting game. But what were some decent, or were there any decent CoCo 3 fighting games, even if they're like the side-scrolling brawlers or anything like that?
Time Guy would be about the only one I can think of.
Yeah.
And then Ninja Dude. No, they're mentioning, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this correctly, Shaolin Master on the Dragon. I haven't even seen that one. So once again, we need the Dragon guys to really help us out with this kind of stuff. I'd love to see that one.
Yeah. I don't know, Davey Mitchell, if you're still there, I don't know if you heard our cry for Dragon people to help keep us educated of what's going on. But Davey, you're welcome. You're in Discord and you're here in the live chat. We definitely want to have more people from the Dragon community involved so we can represent that machine. I'm just not as educated as to what's going on with that. Jim Franklin says, David Ladd, Kung Fu Master. Hey, man, if you can snatch the floppy from my hand, you are ready, Grasshopper.
Throwing discs.
Yeah. That would be, I know, it would be neat to see a neat little fighter game, even if it's not, I don't know that, listen, a detailed background would be nice, but if we had to cut cycles to get speed, and it would be kind of cool, even if it was just on a simple black background, but just have some good fighting mechanics in a CoCo game with some decent frame rate would be nice, right? Yep. Cool stuff. So yeah, I would love to see something like this in these low pixel modes here. So Ben Jimenez, keep us posted on what you're working on there. Love to see more of that. And then here's Mark D. Overholzer, the community instigator. So Mark is now been appointed. Mark is the Rainbow Committee leader. So Mark, tell us what kind of stuff you're stirring up here, and what do you think is going to happen now that you're cracking the whip?
Well, yeah, I saw the little post Ron threw up, and this came up last week. Ron threw up a link to his, the mock-up he did last year, and there was a couple of comments from a couple of people. And then Ben Jimenez, posted his mock-up cover of a modern version. And I was thinking, we talked about this, a year ago, but I don't remember that Ron directly asked anybody, could you commit something? Could you, sit down and do something? So I thought, we've got all these new CoCo people here now, so why not just say, hey, this is a cool idea. We had some interest. Would you be willing to step up and deliver an article? And I actually posted a bunch of names for you there in the Zoom chat. But there's a bunch of people saying, we could do that.
Right. So this is who seems to be able to contribute to the end of the year 2018 wrap up. So you've also said, listen, let's not worry about a whole monthly publication or a regular thing. Let's just get one episode done. So 2018 wrap up for to be like a 2018-2019 Rainbow. So you got Ben Jimenez, Jason Downs, David O'Connor, Ian Maverick, Joel Avi, Terry Trapp, John Whitworth, who's a Dragon hardware developer, and Alan Huffman. So
and myself.
And yourself. Okay.
And Ron. Yeah.
And Ron Delvaux, celebrity interview wrangler. So yeah, so the thing is that listen, I think it's a great idea. I support it. I would love to see it. But what we've seen from last year to this year was, once again, it was something that everybody got excited about, and excitement and posting a comment and enthusiasm are great, but accountability and deliverability are really the goals here. And other than Ron Delvaux, who, like I said, put together something nice, not a lot came from last year's excitement over Rainbow Magazine. So now what we need is, here's a list of names who are going to commit to this. So we need you need a project manager here to stay on top of this. So Ron Delvaux, you taking the reins on this? I mean,
I'll do the art.
Ron's going to do the art, and Mark Overholzer is going to be taking the reins on this, right?
Mark's going to
for the moment.
Yeah,
yep, for this first one anyway.
We'll work together on it.
Yeah. So that's what you need. You need somebody to say, because this is the problem when you're dealing with a collective, when you're dealing with a community. Everybody's excited, and you sent out a request to everyone. Hey, everyone, can you help us out here? But everyone isn't a person. Everyone's not accountable for anything. But if you get John Smith says, yeah, I'll bring the brownies, and this person's going to bring the fruit punch, and you get somebody to kind of say, this is what I'm going to do, then it's a whole different story, right?
That's what I did. Everyone said, could you get by the 31st of January?
Yeah.
And everybody said, yeah, we should be able to do that. So there we go.
Don't bring brownies that have bite marks.
Don't bring brownies that have bite marks, right? Okay, there you go.
And you have to watch the brownies from Canada now, since we
heard about that.
So I am very enthusiastic about what could potentially come from here. And I think we were talking about this. Why hasn't there been a Rainbow Magazine? Why don't we have this? And we've been very fortunate for the past 4 years. Like, we've had the CoCo Crew podcast, which has been like a monthly digest for us to listen to. I think, it's easier to produce something when you don't have to get into page layouts and creating a digital magazine or paper magazine. So podcasts are kind of like the new magazines in a sense. So we've been fortunate that we have Facebook, where we can consume on a daily basis. We've got the monthly podcast. We've got this show. So we are filling a similar function, or filling that void to a degree, but nothing beats something tangible. So it'd be great to have something you can put your hands on and say, yeah, this is really cool. So I support the notion, and if it's something that's for sale, I'll buy it. But I was very clear before saying, it's like, dude, I don't have time to take on another project. So I threw up a website and a domain name before to give people something to play with, but I just don't have time. And I was at least realistic about that and didn't even try to fool myself to think I would. But if somebody does, God bless you, and take my money, when it's ready.
Well, we also talked about the fact that if we call it the Rainbow again, are we worried about any comebacks, or should we just call it Color Computer Magazine? And or
that was also a magazine too, though. You'll have to check in that one too.
So
the CoCo Community News, whatever. The name isn't even that important right now. Just let's get it done. Get her done.
Content.
How about we just call it Ron Delvaux Magazine? That way you can improve it all.
Ron's Garage.
Ron Delvaux CoCo Magazine.
You have my permission to call it the CoCoTALK thing.
Okay.
Whatever.
CoCoTALK thing.
The CoCoTALK thing. The CoCoTALK document of some form or another.
We'll have it in that commercial with the 60s look, CoCo rap.
Yeah.
By the way, Stevie, just to go back to the previous story, or not previous story, but the previous comments in the chat room about the Kung Fu games and stuff.
Yeah.
I just threw up the link in the chat there with screenshots of that Dragon game. Actually looks pretty good.
Oh, yeah?
Shaolin Master.
Okay. So I'll pull that up, and we'll get to that. Oh, wow. Yes, that does look good.
If you click on the pictures, it'll zoom them up a bit, too.
Yeah. Okay. So Shaolin Master, the animated epic by Quick Beam Software, written by David Gibbons. How do we switch images now?
Just go back.
Oh, you can't just hit next?
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. And can I make it any bigger? That's what she said. Now look at these. Yeah, see, now this is nice here because the background is above the guy, so you don't have to worry about erasing and restoring your backgrounds and managing all that transparency, right?
Yeah.
So that looks good. Yeah.
But it looks like it's based on the same game that the DICOM one, Karate Master Karate. I think he just called it Karate.
Okay.
It's based on our old arcade game.
Okay, right.
Head
So what you have here is you have the referee, and so he's counting the scores and if you get your hits and things like that, right? So. And
you had a whole ton of different things. If your joystick was a certain spot, and then you hit a button, then you did a kick, and other times you do a punch, and etc.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Dragon stuff we really need to review because there's a lot of stuff I've never seen this one before.
Yeah, absolutely. And this looks like me after an episode of After Dark. I'm just on the floor, passed out. So, very cool.
Must be level 1. Oh, sorry.
Shaolin Master. Yeah, very effective characters that you get the point across. You know that these are a couple of fighting dudes. Hopefully the animation looks as good as the stills do. To see these guys in action, the movement and stuff. No, that looks really good.
CoCo.
Yeah. And the cassette looks good here. Here's a picture of the title screen itself. So you had a semi graphics title screen for it. Shaolin Master, the animated epic. Please wait while loading from Quick Beam Software. That's really cool. Yeah. There are so many Dragon titles that we as lazy Americans, we just don't know about them.
Yeah.
And also being a lazy American, I'm not going to try real hard to learn about them, but if somebody's kind enough to share that information, I'll gladly share it with other people too.
Yeah, the other thing about the Dragon market too is because England didn't officially get the CoCo 3 come out, so the Dragon people kept working on the CoCo 1-2 platform longer and pushed it harder, I think, than we did. Because most of us switched over, so there's some pretty darn impressive games.
Now, see, this is great, too. This is a great part of the archive where we've actually got the instruction card scanned, right? So this would be the fold-up. Here's your moves, right? So this is actually showing us the different moves of how to have your joystick in your different directions for your left player or your right player. So they're numbered. So you have jump up. You have position 2 is high punch. Position 3 is move right. Low punch in kneeling position, right? 5 is duck. Position 6 is back somersault. Position 7, move left, right? And then it gets on. And then we get into the higher numbers too, right? So then so was it with the button? Did that activate the second round? Owing to the number of moves necessary in this game, control is by joystick only. So I'm wondering how you got the second set of moves here.
That's for the second joystick. That's for the right person on the right joystick. It's basically repeating. Actually, no, it's second.
No, it's not. It's a whole other second set of moves. So you have drop kick, high kick, medium kick. So I'm wondering if you have to hold the button for one set, button down for one set of moves, and maybe button up for another.
I'm not sure.
I mean, it's here.
Probably that's probably what it was to get the other
sound. Break abandons current game. Changes color from green. Changes color to yellow. Changes to monochrome black and white mode. Nice. Changes color mode default. Yeah, I wonder about that. But this is great how their archive has, the pictures of the cassette cover and all kinds of stuff, right? So I love it. I love it. I like it. Definitely looks like something I'd want to play with. So it's one of my projects is to fire my dragon up and to play some real dragon games on a real dragon. So
this one might actually play on the CoCo without too much translation too, because the main play is joystick based, and the joysticks are identical between the two.
Right.
The keyboard, you'd have to figure out some of the key remappings, but
yeah. Okay, now James has posted a link to a YouTube video. Is that something you need me to pull up, James? Am I going to get copyright flagged for that? I'm not even sure what James is.
It's a Red Meanies.
Oh, the Ultimate Pac-Man game? Okay.
The 3D Pac-Man one?
I'm afraid to click on this, James, but I will. YouTube has not been too good to me. Oh, this is a... is it a CoCo game? Looks like it could be.
This was a Dragon game, if I remember, wasn't it?
Oh, Dragon?
I can't remember.
But it could be.
Yeah.
If I remember, it's a 3D Pac-Man. Yeah.
Look at this. Yeah. Okay.
It's one of the ones there. He's thinking about doing a virtual reality.
Oh, neat. So this would be cool for VR. Absolutely. Yeah.
So even got the ghost turn blue and you run over the car.
I got scared. Ghost popped up on me. Yeah, that's actually really cool. It's moving pretty quick,
too. Hand drone, except with the Pac-Man theme.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God, there's a blue ghost. He just ate him. Oh, there's a red ghost. Oh no. No, that's cool. I don't hear any sound on it. Oh, maybe because I have my sound turned off. There we go. There we go. Ooh.
No copyright snags for that.
No.
Except maybe for Atari.
Yeah.
Sorry, we copyrighted that.
Is that the GMC? Yeah, okay, so that's typical CoCo sound right there. All right. Yeah, kind of scrubbing through the video here.
That's yet another Dragon game we never saw.
Yeah, so many Dragon games that us lazy Americans and even worse, lazy Canadians have never seen. So
that should be a new segment: Dragon games we've never seen.
Yeah, Dragon games we've never seen.
Actually, you probably could get like a year's worth of episodes at least.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that looks really good.
Kind of interesting to see which of these, if you could get it to run on maybe a CoCo 2 or.
Yeah,
should be able to.
Yeah, it should run fine. Like I said, the key mappings you might have to patch or figure out what the different keys remap to, but the games themselves should work fine because the sound, the joystick, and video hardware are all identical.
Now, are because these are European games, are the enemies more polite? Terribly sorry. I didn't mean to kill you there, old man. I see. No, that looks good.
Good show.
Good show.
No, but they know how to spell correctly at least.
They know how to spell Kalur. When I'm drinking my liqueur, I like to play in Kalur. Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. You can't. That's the new Ed Snyder sound chip we just heard there, right? So that's on the new mega multi-pack. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. So yeah, to those who have committed to working on this new thing, this new magazine or publication or document, whatever you want to call it, I definitely look forward to seeing that. And thank you, Mark Overholzer, for taking the mantle there, and for Ron Delvaux for what you've already done and what you will hopefully continue to do. We need more CoCo content. There just can't be enough, right? So good stuff, and I look forward to that. Good stuff. And speaking of which, as Ron was saying earlier, right? Ron Delvaux has nominated Ed Snyder of Man of the Year.
Well, think about all he's done.
Yeah, absolutely.
A hard-working guy.
Absolutely. And we need to have the sexiest CoCo community member too, and I would nominate David Ladd for that. So
he'd win just based on his head alone.
Just all the smoke clears, and then there he is.
He's the smoothest operator, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So just you got to throw out these ideas, and just get
the same with the watch. That fostered somebody to think and talk about stuff. So I'll throw this up, throw that up, and that's what I do.
Ron Delvaux, community instigator.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Stirring S star dot star.
Yeah.
Yes. Good stuff there, Ronnie. So now Ed's a pretty humble guy. He's not too vocal all the time. Did he comment on this at all? Ed Snyder himself?
I don't think he did. No.
Okay.
And I've asked him to come on the show, and I don't get anything.
Well, Ron, you're gonna achieve legendary status if you get Ed Snyder on here. You have achieved legendary status.
And I tried to get our CoCo TV guy to come on.
Roger Taylor.
Yeah, but he says he can't do it. He's busy.
Yeah, and he said it many times. He's like, I'm a behind the scenes kind of guy.
Yeah. Just the way it is.
With centerfolds, we got a request, please, no centerfolds. Imagine a two-page spread of David Ladd. Oh, God.
There's a scary spot.
Lord.
He doing that famous Bill Gates pose when he was kind of like laying on the table there back in his Microsoft days.
Yeah. Ed Snyder, Man of the Year. And now here we go. What is this Aeon? You posted this here. So these are some more screenshots. Speaking of monochrome graphics, and so this AGD, this adventure arcade game designer kit, which is going to let us not only create new games but also port a lot of existing games. So we got all these screenshots here of.
Eon, how you pronounce it?
And when I got confused, I looked at this and there's like 8 or 9 disk images. So I don't know, do we need all these disk images? Oh, there's a disk, there's a VDK, a disk, a VDK. There's part 1, there's part 2.
There's 4 disks in the set that you need. The 2 are just 2 different formats.
Okay. So you need 4 disks to play the game?
Yeah.
Now how do I make this picture bigger? I don't know if I can.
I don't think you do.
But this is high resolution monochrome. And on a Dragon, they didn't have artifacting at all, so they can see it in the glorious black and white. But this looks really good. This looks really, really good. So think about it. The original TRS-80 was monochrome. They had some pretty good-looking games. The original Mac was monochrome. They managed to pull off some good-looking games.
Yeah. Did you see the update I posted too? It was from the CoCo listserv, but I posted the text of Pear's message because he's mentioned like how the whole development system, how far they've gotten on it, what it exactly does, what they have to do by hand still.
Is that in Discord?
Now there's 2 other 4 game packs coming out soon too. Yeah,
is that in Discord?
Yeah.
Okay, so he said from the CoCo list from Per Surratt, details on the AGD suite. And so for those of you who are not in Discord, this is what it looks like. We share information here, right? So no doubt we will release the whole CoCo Dragon suite, despite by now we are tuning a bit better with every new release game. Sometimes
Pear's first language is not English. Just
it only requires a change in the compiler, but in other cases we have required adding more BAT files to perform new tasks. So what do we have here? What's going to become with the suite? A convert exe to extract the data in scripts from the ZX snapshot, an AGD Dragon exe compiler that creates the assembly source code for the 6809. An image converter, data reordering from the ZX to the 6847 format. Oh, that's cool. These 3 elements are programmed in C under Wim. Oh, so this is like a Windows tool then too, right? So an assembler compiler by Karen Anscombe. That's Sixy, from those of you who don't know, who is our guy who makes XROAR. Right? A tool to deal with the Dragon disks. a tool to deal with CoCo disks, which is image tool by Mess, an emulator to test those disks, XROAR by Karen, and a lot of batch files to allow things to be done massively. We have released only 5 games. I have 2 more packs of 4 games that will be delivered soon. The amount to only 13 games, let's say, by 150. Oh, so this amounts to 13 out of about 150, so quite a lot to be worked on, tested, and released. So this is the CoCo Dragon Suite. It will be only used to convert the already programmed ZX Spectrix games. But 150 games is quite a lot.
Yeah, that we can get out of this.
Yeah, so that's really good. So thank you, Per, for working on that. That's a great tool. It's going to bring new, like we're sitting here talking about how there's so many Dragon games that already exist that we don't know about, and now we're going to be introducing 150 new Spectrum potential games to the CoCo and the Dragon. So good time for games, right? And I guess the goal would be eventually this arcade game designer would becomes a toolkit where you could build your own games. It's like level editor and game engine and compiler where you could design the games and put the pieces together, press play, and have it make the CoCo game for you, right?
Yeah, and that's basically what it does on the Spectrum. So I think that is probably the eventual long-term goal. But for now, even just getting 150 games converted without having to write from scratch.
Yeah, that's great. So thank you, Per, for doing that. That's awesome. And there was a handful of other tools that you've mentioned, Curtis, that have existed, like the Dino Sprite has been out there for a while. Chet Simpson's been talking about how he's got his tools he's making public, and he's going to be working on some tutorial videos for those. That's great. So good stuff, right?
Are they going to be taking any color computer games and doing them back the other way?
We don't really have a generic engine like that I know of. I mean, there was one back in 82 or 83. There was an arcade game designer cartridge I remember being advertised, but I don't know of anything actually made from it, so I don't know how popular it was. The whole point of this is that it's one generic engine that the Spectrum has that you just design with their game designer, and it creates the code and creates the program to run the game. So you basically have this one nice central tool that does everything for you under the hood, and we don't have the equivalent on the CoCo except now that he's porting it. If you can eventually port the part that creates the games on the Spectrum for you to create a game from scratch, well, then you have great stuff that would work back on the Spectrum the other way around.
Right. Yeah. So if you have this one master tool that can create the system dependent binary, so you have the same tool could create a CoCo binary that could create a Spectrum binary, then we could create new games that would work on 2 systems. All right. Kind of a cross-platform game engine.
It's like 8-bit Java.
Yeah, that would be cool. All right, so this is the video you pointed to from Paul Shoemaker, right? He posted this.
He was in the chat earlier. I don't know if he still is.
All right, so I don't know if we have sound on here, but we'll rewind this thing. And I love what Paul has here. He's got his wallpaper on his PC is a CoCo. So as we're looking at the emulator here, we have a CoCo kind of bezel around it, right? So very cool stuff.
And I think he mentioned in the post that he's about 80% done the game, so this is actually getting pretty close.
Dungeon Crawl. Look at that. That's a nice looking title screen there.
There's a lot of good monochrome graphics going on right now.
Yeah. Welcome to Dungeon Crawl. Would you like to start a new... Oh, it's rolling your characters, your constitution. Look at that. What is your name? David Ladd. Oh, come on. You descend into the depths of the dark dungeon. Prepare. Yeah, and it loads up pretty quickly, too. Yeah, it's loading pretty quick. I love how it just pops up. You walk into the room, you find gold. You see some gold. You've snagged the gold.
Yeah, and his P-Mode 4 black and white graphics here are really nice, just like some other ones.
Absolutely. Oh, and it looks like there's a timer, so it's kind of turn-based / real-time, so you can't sit there forever.
Yeah.
Fight,
so it's somewhat
cast,
real-time?
evade. Somewhat semi-real-time, huh? SRT? Level 1 Exorist, huh? Now it looks like my video is buffering here. What's going on here, bandwidth? I have this issues with Facebook sometimes. I get this buffering crap.
Yeah, it gets stuck. Yeah, I've had that too.
Yeah. All right. No, that looks really cool, Paul. Good work on that. Yeah, it's amazing what you can do with just black and white graphics and make them look nice. It's really more with what you do than anything else. Yeah. Cool stuff. Very, very cool stuff. Yeah, I would definitely play a game like this. You know, this looks like this is a combination of Dungeons of Daggerath and Rogue. You know, a little bit of both. You get some of the real-time stuff. You get guys that, you know, you come in and you have to do your combat with it. So somewhat turn-based, somewhat real-time. And it looks good. And I love this genre. I love a fantasy-style game, a Dungeons and Dragons-style game. It's always some of my favorites. Cool. Cool stuff. And what else we got? Okay, Chet Simpson's Digger. This is something he posted before he went away for his little work break. I have this downloaded. I have it on my CoCo. Maybe we can show this off. So this is the Digger 3 version 101A. So we got that going. And then we're looking at this Shaolin. So I think that's what I had saved up this week for new stuff. Anybody else got anything else worthy of
James
talking about?
In Discord, and I can't remember which group it was, posted some Jim Gary Christmas thing. I think he did. Was that in planning production?
Here we go. Found it.
Oh, you found it? Okay.
Yep. Hopefully the music's not copyright.
Oh, there's sound statements. I don't know.
Yeah. YouTube freaking. Wow. Wow. That was actually really good. Yes. That was actually really good. I want to see that again. I want to see it again. Come on, Jim. Let's see some more Jim Gary. Neat. Cool job. As always, Jim Gary never fails to disappoint. I'm going to copy and paste that link. I'll put it in the live chat here on YouTube if anybody wants to pull that up.
Run that applause button.
Yeah.
Never fails to impress, you mean?
Never fails to, what did I say? To disappoint. Oh, did I say that? Did I say that? Okay, never fails to impress was the word I was looking for. Sorry about that. That's what I get for not having a good night's sleep in like a month. He never disappoints. He whatever.
I'm
sorry, Jim.
In between
this. I'm sorry.
You must have been thinking of David Ladd.
He always delivers. He never disappoints. I'm sorry, Jim. My brain is shot. What can I tell you? But thank you. Thank you. You're too kind, and thank you.
Thank you. Yes, you're too kind, and thank you.
I think Stevie's had enough.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm looking forward to not having to teach night classes anymore, so hopefully I get my sleep and my sanity back. Cool stuff. Yeah, thanks for posting that, James Diffendaffer, for reminding us that that's out there, and thank you, Jim Gary, for all that you do. Cool stuff. Oh, it's been a scant 3 hours here on CoCoTALK, and has the world had enough? Do we have more? Do we have a tech dump? Do we have a core dump? Do we have any type of dump?
I don't really, but I was just looking at the screenshots there by Jason playing Zaxxon there, showing the CM8 black and white screen and then simultaneously seeing the artifacted composite. So you can see the color difference, and that just reminded me I actually have a picture on my desktop of I'll just see if I can bring it up just to show people who are wondering what does PAL look like when it's showing composite. So I'll just bring up the picture. I have got one here. And you can see what we were putting up with all those years in the 80s. Okay, now I've just got to share it.
Oh, we still have to show off Nitrous 9 Beta 3 and then possibly the Gold Digger, but I want to make sure we're not missing any segments.
All right, well, this is this is real quick.
Yeah.
And here it comes. So that's a close-up of a screen that says, you know, if the screen is red, hit one button. If the screen is blue. Well, we never saw red or blue. That's what we saw. You know, that ugly purple and green stripes.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, imagine all those artifacted games, and that's what they look like. So, yeah. You know,
there was no option for, if this is purple and black, then continue.
Well, I've got to now hang up. Hang on a sec. Damn, this damn computer.
If only.
If only, that's right.
No.
I can't get to the other damn screen.
Stop sharing.
I'm trying to get to it. Oh, there it is. I found it. Stop sharing. There we go. You're in control again.
All right. Well, how about we do this? Since one of our news articles today was Nitrous 9 Beta 3, and I do have my CoCo 3 up here. Curtis, which version should I be running now? I should be running the 6809 version, correct?
Yeah, that's the one that's got the the biggest speed ups, and it's almost, parts of it are almost running as fast as the 609 version, and some are running, you know, noticeably faster, but nowhere near the 609 version.
That's blasphemy. Okay. Blasphemy.
Loading some standard utilities.
Have we broken the 49 font barrier yet?
Okay, so.
Actually, on Beta 4, I got to remove a few because I found a couple are duplicated. They were just named differently for some reason.
What's today's date? Today's the 22nd. All right. And so we have... Does this do 24-hour time?
Yes, it's 24 hours.
This is very important to get the right time in here.
Beta here, we'll have it so you can pull it from a clock chip or the drive wire or whatever, you know, to keep typing it in.
Starting Windows. Why does it say starting Windows when it's Nitrous 9?
I fired up 2 windows in the background. That's what that 5 and 6 are. If you hit clear right now, you'd go see them.
The back tasks, yeah.
This is the part Nick's complaining about. This takes too long, and he's right. I have to optimize this.
Yeah, I don't know if you really need all this text chatter on the screen. I just, like a Mac, just leave it blank.
Well, I'm doing it now because if something crashes, I can help somebody. Like, how far did it go on the screen before it crashed, so I can identify where it's crashing.
All right.
I like
so
the
now in here.
Linux method where it has a screen over the top, so it looks nice and pretty. But if you hit escape, then you can see, oh, this is what we're doing. Oh, that's what failed to load.
Okay, I'm here.
Yep, type G shell.
All right. I'm not getting my joystick ready. Okay, and here we are.
Yep. So like the background screen clearing, if you remember the old beta 2 or earlier, that you could actually literally watch it draw coming down the screen. And now it's almost instantaneous.
And so this is the 6809 version too.
Yeah.
And
now the
trash can is the most detailed one here because this represents Nick's opinions of the operating system. So
that's why I spent so much time on it to make that point clear. But you'll notice one thing: you can actually move the mouse down to the bottom of the screen, which is a bug fix.
Oh yeah, it's off screen now.
Because the bottom 8 pixels were not reachable before. I don't know why that was done. There's a couple new games if you want to check them on the games directory.
What do I do? Go to DD?
Yeah.
Well, what can I pull up to show how fast you've improved the line draw stuff?
The demo, if you go into demos.
Will this run on a CoCo 1? David O'Connor is asking. No, this is CoCo 3 here.
No, CoCo 3 only.
That'll run on an emulator. Okay.
And then demo, I think, is the standard G shell demo. And then you can resize it. You can move the window where you want to be in. You can now drag it all the way to the bottom. And this I got to figure out. They did some weird palette settings, so it's losing the menu. It's still there. You just have to move the cursor up to near the upper left there. Just click, and it'll pop it down. Oh, you clicked the close button by accident.
Oops.
I got to figure that one out. I'm not sure what exactly is causing that menu to disappear. I think it's hard coded for a certain screen size or something.
Okay, so I'm not making it fully too big. All right, so what do I do now? Click on demos?
Yeah. And bars is probably the best demo.
Okay, so this uses using your speed up routines now.
Yeah, and this is literally probably twice as fast as the previous version.
No, it's very, very fast. Yep.
And filled circle, filled ellipse does that too. Bars are a little bit faster. Screen scrolling's faster.
Yep. What's the other one? Lines or no? Does lines matter?
Lines isn't really sped up that much, so you probably won't consider, so that's probably good enough. If you run the GUI B thing, that's noticeably faster from the previous version too.
Welcome to the late. Okay, so this is the one that shows you all your GUI tools, huh?
Yeah. So the screen clearing the screen in between each and then drawing the filled boxes and stuff is faster using the new routines. And that's one of the nice things about doing this in a real operating system, is because these are routines that the operating system has that we've sped up. All your programs that call these all immediately get the speed up. You don't have to do anything special on your program. It's just built in.
And this is the 6809 version we're looking at.
Yeah.
So the 6309 one is
even
faster
faster,
still. Yeah. Oh.
The diamond's a little wonky looking, but yeah.
Yeah, that's because Robert Gall did a patch where he, as he called it, improved the symmetry. And he's right, because if you do some specific line draws, it actually is balancing the error correction of a line better. But these programs were done before that correction was made, so they adjusted for it ahead of time. So I've got to go through and patch those. I patched the Qbert game to kind of do that already. I haven't patched GUI B yet.
Yeah. There's your high-res screen.
Drawing the background gray bars there, like the background boxes.
Yeah, those are quicker.
A lot faster than the old one. I had some videos I put up we showed last week.
Okay. What else should I pull up?
You can pull up games because there's a couple new ones there.
So to go back, where I click on the dot here?
Yeah.
So Steve,
I also put in some GIF pictures, demos. I got some more sound samples. There's a bunch of stuff. You don't need to go through it all. Let the people.
What were you saying, Mark?
Using a joystick or what?
Yeah, I'm using a joystick, the Lex joystick.
Okay. Yeah, I still need to try David Ladd's mouse adapter, PS2 mouse adapter with
this.
Yeah.
And this is something in G Shell itself. I have to figure out why it's running this slow. I know it has to pre-buffer in all the icons if it hasn't encountered them before. And the more games I add, of course, the slower it's getting. But I think there's some ways I can probably optimize that in G Shell itself to speed this up.
Right. Yeah, for those who don't have a CoCo 3 of 512K, you can run it in an emulator, and MAME will do it, and so will VCC. Right? Will this run in VCC?
Yeah. Now VCC is starting to get distanced. There's some routines and certain things like run bean basic 9. If you're doing certain things that are using 609 codes, the current VCC does not support, and it actually will pop up an error window saying illegal divide instruction or something. I can't remember who it is that's working on VCC, but I know they've got that internally fixed already. So once that new VCC is out, that problem will be solved. But right now, the only emulator that's doing it fully is MAME.
Okay. So what should I pull on now? Is Qbert 09, is that new?
Qbert 09 and Invaders are the two new ones. Qbert 09 is a basic 09 game.
So what should I pull up? Invaders?
Yeah, Invaders is more impressive to look at. I think that's Alan Huffman's very first game he ever did.
I think you're thinking of Walter, who's rewriting VCC, so it's cross.
Yeah, thanks, I can remember his name.
Okay, maybe I don't have the right
Keyboard.
joystick.
No, this is keyboard. Well, if you had J, yeah, you might have plugged it in.
I did hit J.
Oh, okay, yeah, because keyboards are what I usually play it on.
Okay, I love how he's got Etha for his...
And you got multi-fire, too. That's just kind of nice.
Well, I don't have any fire right now, but that's okay. How do I get out of this bloody thing? I guess that's one way to do it. I just hit clear, so I am multitasking through Windows. Look how quickly I just switched windows, huh?
Notice how the invaders above are shooting at the invader below?
The invaders above?
Just block the shots.
Yeah.
Oh, they're dropping bombs on the yeah, I see what you're saying, yeah. Yeah, it's still impressive, though. All right, how do I get out of it? Q to quit?
Control key.
Game
or
over.
Control E or
Game over.
something.
Okay. All right, let's try it. Let's try keyboard because my joystick it didn't work. All right, so my arrow keys
and spacebar. But you have multiple shots.
Yeah, multi shots.
And as you progress, if you don't die, every time you die, you lose one of your shots. But if you make it through a screen, you gain. And I think I've had it up to like 7 shots at once you can do.
Oh, wow.
Might even go higher than that. I'm not sure. And that alien at the top changes speed, too.
All right, guys. It's pretty good.
Yeah. The sounds are fairly simple. I mean, it's not the most extravagant game, but like I said, it was Alan's first attempt at a arcade game under OS9, and it's not too bad.
What did he write it in?
Assembly.
Oh, okay. Neat.
And he had his own font he built in, as you can see there.
Q to quit. Okay.
There you go.
And then Qbert 09 is another one?
Yeah, that's a really old game written in BASIC 09.
Okay.
Using the 640 mode.
Do you need instructions? No.
This is joystick.
Oh, look at that. Not bad. What do I do?
Push diagonally and hit the button to jump if you got the right joystick plugged in.
Yeah, I don't know. And so I must not. The joystick I have is working for G Shell, but it's not working for games.
Yeah, well, it depends on the game. Like one thing, like Puckett of OS9, for example, actually asks you to click a button so it knows what side you're on. And some of these first games, people were still used to RS-DOS where they hard-coded it for left or right joystick instead of prompting the user. So they did a few things, but
okay. Yeah. So we can see here.
Anything else there? People
even on a 6809, it's still faster.
Yeah, quite a bit faster. But there, yeah, I put in some graphic samples that are GIFs, so you can see what the GIF viewer looked like back in the day, and I put in some sound samples for other platforms that are ported over, like Amiga Sounds and stuff.
Where do I go to get to those at? Graphics folder?
Graphics, I think, is under Pictures, and then Sound. I think I did for sound samples. I can't remember now.
Okay. We got our pictures here. Bada bing, bada bing, boom, ba.
Yeah. Now I've got to fix the view program that does the GIFs because I have a 639 specific version, but unfortunately, I guess the last release I did, I broke a couple things I didn't notice at the time, back in 1997 or whatever the heck it was, because it runs a fair bit faster on a 639 system, but it doesn't run properly, so I kind of have it disabled by default. And now it's loading all the custom icons for various imaging formats. Yeah. That's something I got to figure out how to speed up.
All right, so what should I be clicking?
Go into the GIF folder.
GIF. Named after my favorite peanut butter. Choosy moms, choose GIF.
I know it's technically supposed to be called GIF. I can't call it that.
I don't know. I don't know what the right term for it is. All right, so what do you want to pull up here? What do you recommend?
Just pick the upper left corner, Big Cat, for example.
I saw Cheryl. Is that Cheryl Tiggs and Christy Brinkley?
Yeah, it might be.
All right, I'd rather look at Cheryl than a Big Cat. So let's see.
And some of these were designed for like EGA and higher displays, so it's trying to scale. And
yeah, baby. Look at this. Blazing speeds.
Well, it's doing Limpel Zev decompression at the same time. So
yeah.
If you remember back in the old PC days, back in 80, 88, 82, 86 days, they had to do the same thing.
Oh my God, she looks like a skeleton with those dark sunken in eyes. She's like a zombie. What's going on here? Zombie with cleavage. So, is there another pass that's gonna? Okay.
No, you're done. You can hit the button on the joystick to finish viewing too.
All right, let's see if Christy Brinkley looks any better than Cheryl does, because she did not hold up well.
Yeah, it'll depend on the scaling and the original resolution. Some of the pictures I specifically picked because they'll actually look pretty decent on the CoCo.
Okay.
And I think this was a Mac picture, so it's probably originally like 512 by 384, and it's trying to do it on a 640 by 200.
Who's breathing?
This is like a cover of Sports Illustrated if it was brought to you by Dial-Up.
Yeah, the ones that are closer to native CoCo res actually display a bit faster than this too. Like if you pick that Big Cat one in the upper left, it's 320 by
well, the perv in me wanted to see the bikini girls before I looked at the Big Cat.
I didn't put anything R or X rated. I did find some, but I didn't put them.
All right, so here's the Big Cat. So for all you animal lovers out there.
Now that's pretty nice.
Yeah, and this is loading a little quicker too. It's kind of
It's more close to the native registers and not trying to rescale it on the fly.
Yeah,
the way Lempel-Zev Welsh works, or Lempel-Zev decompression works, you have to uncompress the entire stream, even if you're not going to be using it.
Okay.
Because it's based on what's previously in the stream.
Okay.
So when you do a picture that's like twice as wide as the CoCo screen and twice as high, it still has to decode the entire thing, even though it can't draw it. So it just skips some of the data after it decompresses.
Okay. Cool.
But yeah, there's quite a few in there anyway.
All right. Cool.
And then
All
sound files, like I said, I added some Amiga clips and some other ones too.
All right. Well, my stomach clock is saying I got to eat some food soon. So what we're gonna do here, though, is we're gonna switch gears for just a minute. Let's take a look at Chet's Gold Runner 3, latest edition, and then we'll take it from there.
What's the 6809 boot co?
Kanai's asking if there's a picture of a Canadian beaver in there, Curtis.
No, I can find one.
All right,
Not that I could put on a family-friendly show anyway.
Nice beaver. All right, Digger 3 holiday preview. Look at this. I already, and I found, for whatever reason, although I'll try the joystick again. I think I found that for some reason, I thought the keyboard was working a little better.
It works better for me for those ones where you're trying to get around the bats.
All right, the basic. And I don't remember what all the codes are anymore. But here we go.
AZ and AZ and the arrows and spacebar.
Oh, right.
It's okay, Curtis. We speak Canadian.
Yeah. No, but I tell you, it's so smooth. I forgot. I haven't played this since the last time we did this live. But it's so damn smooth.
And
right?
Chet updated it. If you die, the death graphic for you is a bit more animated. And the biggest change I noticed, Chet, and you can correct me if there's anything more that I'm missing, but is the fact that the cheat codes to get up to the later levels actually display for all the levels now, correct?
Yeah, because originally the way that it was set up is that you had 30 levels, but the last 5 you didn't get the codes for. So for this game there was originally 5, and in previous previews you didn't get any codes at all. And unfortunately that one was missed when I went through and did all of the updates for the release, so it only displayed the first one and didn't display the last 5 because of it. So that was quickly fixed, and now all the codes are showing and they all work. So.
And you did update the graphic for the dying there, where he has little stars in his eyes and stuff.
Yeah, we polished that up a little bit, added the transitions in and out to make it a little smoother, and then the additional animation so that it didn't just cut out immediately when you died.
And I think when you complete a level, you did you add a cave or something to the exit level?
Yeah. The guy kind of goes off into the next level, and that's actually something we wanted to test out for some of the things that we're playing around with at the moment for newer animations and sequencing.
Next, I didn't know, so there's a few graphical additions to it.
Yeah, there were a few things that were polished up and that I didn't quite have time to get to, and I didn't think I was actually going to have time to get to them. But
all right. Cool. Well, it's out there.
We might make it to the next level, Stevie.
Yeah. No, it looks good. So maybe I'll play that later on tonight when I'm done eating and I'm not hangry. Cool. Well, excellent. Another good show, everybody. Thanks all for being here. I don't know if you guys want to get together again later tonight or not, when maybe we can have Greg on here. The internet's own Grant Leighty. But yeah, Digger 3 is looking good. It's playing good. It's fast. It's smooth. It's fun. Everybody should try it. All the cool kids are. Cool. Excellent.
Yeah, it's a free and anybody who downloads the ease of use, please give us some feedback either on the shows or on Facebook or email if you picked it up from my page. I should also mention I have submitted it to the archive. I don't know if it's up there yet too.
Okay.
Place you normally get
you've posted download links for ease of use on the Facebook group, from the CoCo Facebook group and Nitrous 9 Facebook group. So the link is there. Download it. It's a zip file. Extract the zip file. Drag the disk file into your CoCo SDC and run it straight off of a CoCo SDC as a hard drive If you're running it on an emulator, you have to boot the floppy disk first, right, to be able to mount the hard drive and get that going.
But please give us feedback. Report any bugs you see. We did fix a couple. We fixed the joystick on the bottom. We fixed the page flipping where it would trap you so you couldn't get off the screen if it's page flipping. So that's fixed too. So.
Excellent. Everything else. And David O'Connor is asking, is Digger 3 CoCo 3 only? Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
512K required.
512K, 1.21 gigawatts, flux capacitor, the whole 9 yards.
RGB highly recommended.
Yes, but it does only require a 6809, so there's less of a requirement there as far as hardware goes.
Right. And it runs in VCC too, right? So if somebody wants to run an emulator, VCC or MAME, so you can be emulated. Have emulator, will travel. Cool. Any parting thoughts, anybody, before we wrap this show up?
Well, it's been a great Christmas edition.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Ho, ho, ho.
And Ron Delvaux, as always, thank you for bringing in the talent.
We'll see if we can't get the Microsoft guy.
Yeah.
For next year.
Absolutely. Cool. Thanks, Ron, for bringing him in and for all that you do. Curtis Boyle, any parting thoughts? Words of wisdom?
No, it was great to talk to Dale. I did talk to him briefly at a fest back in the late 80s, but I mean, I was nobody back then, so he wouldn't remember.
Yeah, not much has changed, but that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. I've grown older and less famous. So.
And less hate.
You'll always be famous to us, man.
That's right. You are.
I think infamous is the more technical term there, but sure.
And
my mullet's more famous than me.
Yeah. Chet, were you going to say something?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I was just breathing a little hard. I was getting excited, about the whole Dale Puckett thing. So,
Mark Revision D Overholzer, any parting thoughts?
Hey, if you can contribute to the new Rainbow, we can put out more than one issue a year.
There you go. Brian Weasley. Yeah, Brian Weasley.
Another great show. Everybody have a Merry Christmas and a ho ho CoCo.
Ho ho CoCo. John Lowry, parting thoughts.
I was just going to say the same thing. Merry Christmas to everyone.
Jim Brain from Retro Innovation says, let the show die already. So, yes, we're working on it. We're trying to kill it. Jason the Cocoa Man Reichard, maker of the Switcheroo and now the Wallaby. Parting thoughts.
Parting thoughts. Just Merry Christmas and CocoMan.biz.
Yeah, if you need that last minute stocking stuffer idea, the Wallabies make great stocking stuffers.
Nice vertical packaging. It's right in there.
Yes.
And if you guys need my address to send those Christmas gifts to you, I can give it after the show. So.
Mark Bosley, parting thoughts, words of wisdom.
Oh, just Merry Christmas to everybody.
God bless us, everyone. Greg says Merry Christmas too. Thank you, Grant Leighty. Nick Marentes.
Nothing else. Merry Christmas, and in case I'm not here next week, Happy New Year as well.
Excellent. Well, we hope you're still here next. You're not planning on checking out of the planet Earth?
Well,
anything, right? Okay.
Don't know.
Excellent.
If he keeps listening to us, maybe. I don't know.
Yes. Hey, we got a late entry. Rick Adams has joined us. Hey, Rick Adams.
Thank you. Yes, you're too kind.
Hello,
Thank you.
You're too kind.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
He's here just in time to say goodnight.
Okay.
Yes.
You can give us your Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. Good night, Gracie.
Parting thoughts, words of wisdoms, words of encouragement.
No. Merry Christmas.
Yep. No encouragement for you people out there.
No.
Yeah,
that's extra.
Nice lights there, Rick. Like your
yes, nice holiday light display. Yes.
Rick, do you still need beta testers for your OmniStar?
Sure.
I'm
you
not
were busy,
volunteering
right?
'cause I'm gone for the next week and a half, and I'm busy after that. But I just thought we might as well make it public if you need some more beta testers, so you can.
Yeah.
Do they need to reach you? Do they need to reach you via Discord, or is there a public link, or is it like on demand?
Oh, probably Discord. I don't know.
Okay.
Good question. I don't really know. People kind of know where to find me. I don't know. Basically, the question at this point is it's pretty much all done except for the end game. And as you found out, Stevie level 1 Stro has actually beat the game and found out at the end absolutely nothing interesting happens. You just beat the game and that's it. So we need some sort of an end game. And then the question is this game really fun to play? You know, because, you know, other than him, nobody else has completed it. So
okay. Well, I got to take another look at it since you added all the blinking lights and flashing screens and stuff. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So I got things to say. I've got things to say, but I was out doing Christmas shopping and stuff. So maybe tonight I'll have some things to say.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. Chet Simpson, any parting thoughts?
Just Merry Christmas, everyone, and I'll see you after the New Year.
And life is better with Cool Ranch Doritos, right?
Yes, it is.
Right up there with bacon.
Bacon and Cool Ranch Doritos, and it's a beautiful thing.
Actually, that sounds like a good flavor combo. I might try that.
It does.
Hey, you gotta remind me, I'm out of bacon jerky, man. I gotta go get more.
Bacon jerky and Cool Ranch Doritos.
Yes. Best afternoon snack ever, man.
Excellent, excellent. All right, well, we're going to press the button here. We're going to play the outro here, and then we'll press the button. So hold tight, and thank you, everybody. Excellent. Getting major delay when I'm trying to switch scenes right now. This concludes another episode of CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color Computer. For all things CoCoTALK, visit us on the web at CoCoTALK.live. We'd love to hear from you. Send feedback, suggestions, even segments via email to CoCoTALK@CoCoTALK.live. Consider supporting the show with a purchase of merchandise from our retro swag shop at 8bit256.com. If you'd like to become a patron of the show, click on the Patreon link on our site at CoCoTALK.live. CoCoTALK would not exist without the community and its cast and crew. Thanks go to Curtis Boyle, David Ladd, Mark Overholzer, Grant Leighty, Bruce Moore, Nick Marentes, Ron Delvaux, Rick Adams, Jason Reichert, Richard Lorbieski, Jim Brain, Karen Anscombe, Simon Jonason, and many, many more. Special thanks to Steve Bjork for production suggestions and to Brian Joyce, Ken Reichert, and Rob Inman for all of their bonus content and contributions, as well as Roger Taylor for getting us on the CoCo TV channel on Roku. Please help support the CoCo community by visiting some of its contributors. The CoCo Crew podcast at cococrew.org. Glenside Color Computer Club, host of CoCo Fest at glensideccc.com. Jim Brain and Retro Innovations at go4retro.com. Tandy Assembly at tandyassembly.com. Boyson Technologies at boysontech.com. Get your own switcheroo and wallaby cable at cocoman.biz. Cloud9 Technologies at cloud9tech.com. CoCoTALK is hosted by Steve Strobridge. Co-hosts, technical directors, segment hosts, and producers Curtis Boyle, David Ladd, Grant Leighty, Mark Overholzer, Ron Delvaux, and Jason Reichert. The CoCoTALK theme song is copyright 2008 by D. Bruce Moore and Greg Sheeler. Mixed, mastered, and produced by D. Bruce Moore. There we have it, folks. That is the end of the closing credits, the awards ceremonies. The credits have rolled. This is the time where you figure out, is there a teaser clip? Is Aquaman really gay? Or anything like that. I don't know what's happening in the movies these days, but good times.
Press the button, Frank.
Press the button, Frank. All right, guys. So we'll see you maybe tonight, maybe some other time. If we don't, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. CoCo forever. God bless us, everyone. Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Glad you're here.